Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the ATR podcast. And with the Stanley Cup Finals upon us, it is already showing that this is going to be a quick series. I am your host, Mark Williams, and I am joined by, of course, the two guys, but the one and only Mr. John Falkowski.
Adam Fox or Norris.
I don't see how he doesn't win the Norris, but that's just me. Maybe I got a little bit of Long Islander and Ranger fan glasses on, but I think that's going to be it. And if you were wondering where he was, no, he was not licking his wounds from last week. Here is out in the sun, Mr. Anthony LaRocco.
Yep. This is how I'm getting by the Islanders' loss. I'm just going to drink myself to oblivion.
And that is actually pretty good. You can't have too many of those because they're like 27 carbs per serving. It was I love that stuff, but man, it's just
I know
it is a lot of carbs. So, and I have not been able to get back to my gym schedule in a while. We already have a comment. We haven't even. Oh, by the way, we have a comment before we started about Rick Carpiniello, but we're going to get back to that in a little bit, Ziga. And of course, well, let's go Rangers. I, of course, am wearing my Rangers Winter Classic jersey in today. So I don't know why I grabbed it. It's also because I rolled out of bed and I'm not really camera ready right now. So first we're going to start with game one of the Stanley Cup Finals was last night. And guys, the hottest take I can give you is this is going to be a quick series. I said 5 in my predictions. I don't see any way that it goes long. But then again, this is the way Montreal looked against Vegas too. So John, what are your thoughts on game one?
Tampa just outclassed Montreal, just every aspect of the game, speed, the physicality. It just, you know what? Tampa faced what Anthony called a paper tiger in Toronto in round one. And then in round two, they took on a Marc Scheifele-less Winnipeg Jets team after, obviously, the hit on Jake Evans. And then, you know, they shut down Vegas, who was a clear-cut upgrade over them. But as we said during the preview yesterday, they lacked center depth. Tampa Bay has depth on every team. They have speed. They have size. They have good defensive players. I mean, Andre Palat adding offense after you talked about him yesterday. Someone needed to show up. Someone showed up. Who did I say needed to show up yesterday? Blake Coleman. Blake Coleman showed up. And you know what? Tampa is just proving that they are simply a better team. And it didn't even look close last night. I never thought that at any point that game, that Montreal even had a chance of winning that game. I never thought it. Because even when the score was 0-0, it just Tampa was controlling the action. The puck was in Montreal's end. They were all over them. And Tampa was getting the majority of the high danger chances, the vast majority of them. And the goal that was scored was really kind of a fluky kind of goal for Sherrod. So if that's what it's going to be, it looks like Vegas trying to play against Montreal. Because that's basically how that series was. The goals were coming from defensemen. They weren't like great goals. And now Carey Price might be coming back down to earth against a much better team. So you got to wonder how quick this series is going to be. I know myself, and I believe Anthony, I think you said 6 too, right?
Yeah.
This might be 5 or less. This really might be 5 or less. I would say Montreal steals 1 at home just because the home crowd, Carey Price in front of his fans, maybe steals them a game, but I'm not even sure if that could happen at this point. So, I mean, I know it's only one game, but it's not looking good for Montreal. The matchups were in Tampa's favor. I know Tampa gets last change, so that helps them out quite a bit. So maybe that helps going back to Montreal. But if Tampa houses them again like they just did last night, home ice ain't gonna be much because they're gonna be down 2-0 in the series early on, and then Tampa could win one game and take the stranglehold of the series and take the cup home again for a second year in a row. So honestly, I'm shocked if this goes past 5 games at this point.
Well, we got to go right to that beautiful scenery right behind Anthony and that deck that I'm a little bit envious of right now. So, Anthony, your thoughts on game one?
I thought Montreal, Well, first off, they kind of like ran into a buzzsaw there. I think they played timid. I think they were a little scared, maybe a little shell shocked, and Tampa Bay took it to them. The thing about this series is Carey Price is, obviously Vasilevsky's the best goalie in the world. Price is still viewed as right up there. So Price does have the capability to make this a close series, but if he can't close the gap between him and Vasilevsky, I think it might be over rather quickly. But look, Tampa Bay is a deep team, like John said. They got talent everywhere across all four lines, and they play a good defensive brand of hockey. So, and also too, you got to look at Shea Weber's kind of a shell of himself. He's been better this playoff round, but he's not the same Shea Weber. And Jeff Preacher's a good defenseman, but I wouldn't say he's like an elite shutdown defenseman. So, I think Tampa Bay's going to have an easier time. I mean, they're coming off playing the Islanders when they had to face.
Laggy.
God damn it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But all right. So
I don't know if you want me to chime in there or if you want to.
No, I'll chime in. It's just, you know what, I gotta echo what you said a minute ago, and that's it's clearly going. This is going to be a short series. Granted, game 2 could change a lot, but I don't think so. I tried to justify yesterday when we were doing the preview of trying to figure out how Montreal could win the series, and let's be honest, you could still win the series. It's possible, but it's sure as hell not likely. And
no.
Tampa's just better in every possible way. And if you play the rope-a-dope game with Tampa Bay, you're gonna lose. And then if you do that, I mean, because Vegas. This is a better coach team than Vegas. This is a more talented team than Vegas, and I mean that with not all lack of respect to Pete DeBoer. That's the wrong way to go about it. But no, we're only about like 7 minutes in so far, Dave. So it's not that bad.
Yeah, you're not far off, Dave.
I mean, it's just this. I don't see them doing that game where I talked about the 30 shot game and the 30-8 shot differential, and then suddenly Vegas makes a mistake, they pop one in the net. It's not happening against Tampa. It's not. So Montreal's going to have to attack, and I don't think that's really what they're.
Well, that's what I was going to say. The way that Montreal wins this series, yeah, maybe he did take a dip in the pool, Alex, but the way that Montreal wins series is if they just take Tampa's game and they shove it right back down their throat. They have to. They have no other choice because, like you said, you can't afford to sit back and counterattack at this point and try to play what the Islanders tried to do with them. The Islanders have the ability to do that. I don't think Montreal really has the ability, to make Tampa make those mistakes like the Islanders did. I don't see it in Montreal. Something's not right. I mean, you're not getting anything from Filtino. Nick Suzuki and Caulfield were completely shut down last night. They were non-factors. That's big because that's been their driving line so far offensively. Tyler Toffoli was a milk carton status last night. I didn't hear like a peep from him. They did to Vegas. Tampa Bay did to them what Montreal did to Vegas. They neutralized their forwards and they made their defenders score. So if that's going to be the case, Montreal's done in 4 or 5.
By the way, Phil, do you ever wonder if we have to explain what milk carton status is to people? We're getting that old.
Milk carton status, and you're basically lost, nowhere to be found, and your face belongs on the back of a milk carton saying "missing" above it.
Oh, I know. Just in case if you don't know what a milk carton is out there.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I have to explain that because me and Elrock have for years, but you probably have too. You're old enough to get the terminology, but
yes, I definitely have that that terminology that I got that because I'm the eldest of all of us, and So we're working on getting Anthony back on, who needs to step up for game 2?
Wow. Montreal's offense. Like, there's no one player in specific. I mean, you need a single player because I mean, I could give you a couple of singular players, but Montreal's offense in general needs to step up. They need to play a lot harder, play a lot faster. They need to not be timid, like Anthony said. If I give you one player to step up, it's probably Nick Suzuki. Nick Suzuki start reviving that line and bringing those guys back. It's like when you're playing Call of Duty and one of your guys is down and everybody goes and revives the guy and, brings him back and, the team gets back together. Nick Suzuki has to be the guy that, takes the reins there because they really don't have a linchpin center. I mean, he's the closest thing to it right now.
Anthony, who do you got stepping up for game 2?
I gotta go Tyler Toffoli. I know he was red hot earlier on. I think for them to win, they need him to start putting the puck in the net with regularity because the margin of error in this series, I think, is going to be not very good for Montreal. So they're really going to need to get all the bounces, and all their goal scorers are going to have to be their goal scorers. So.
Yeah, then right there, their offense is just not capable of stepping up. Tampa is just too much of a complete team. Power play is lethal. And it's funny, we talked about this just before. Usually, or yesterday, usually it's like the penalty kill usually beats out the power play. That's not going to be the case with this.
Taking shots at Al Rocks Islanders.
Yeah.
Messed up.
Yeah.
The one shorthanded goal all year.
Out of Foxford Norris. There's another one.
My man, Mike Sinino-Sensio. My man.
Just before I ask about the headline, just to say it is coming up. It's going to be in our C block. We gotta just wrap up the Islanders in a minute. Yeah. With Rick Carpiniello. All right. So back to the one last thing. What's your headline after game 2?
I'm gonna say Bolts take commanding lead series. I don't see Montreal coming back from this. I think they split in Montreal. I think Montreal might take game 4. Desperation. I think Tampa ends up going up 3-0, and they really don't look back much, unless Montreal somehow has some magical galvanizing moment in the locker room where they come together, realize what they have to do, and Dominic Ducharme really gets this team together and the offense starts producing. I don't see how Montreal wins the series. So I'm going Bolts take commanding lead 2-0 going to Montreal.
Anthony?
I think it's going to be, despite much better effort, Montreal falls behind 2-0 in the series as Tampa takes it decisively in the series.
I'll go with a terrible pun for this. In a have to win game, Montreal comes up short. Lightning strikes again. So, but of course, we want to know what you think. What do you think about the Stanley Cup Finals so far? It's one game. That's all it is. But who's going to come out on top? I'll give you a hint. It's going to be the one in the blue. And there goes Filk. What's going on today? So we'll see how it all goes. But to wrap up, the team that ended their postseason run on Friday night, New York Islanders, and where we got a comment. Yeah, I know that this series could be pretty bad. Good thing that the NHL rigged the playoffs for a Canadian team to have a better shot to get in. So we're going to have our thoughts on the New York Islanders postseason that ended Friday night. Sorry, Anthony, it just happened with Yanni Gorin's shorthanded goal and Vasilevsky, his 4th consecutive series clinching shutout. So, Anthony, your thoughts on first the game 7? What are your thoughts?
I'll say this. If either one of you guys told me like, for instance, I didn't see the game, and you just simply made a statement of saying Tampa Bay top line was ineffective. They only scored 1 goal, and then you guys said, all right, so guess what do you think the outcome of the game was? I would have jumped up and down, and I would have said, holy crap, Islanders going to the Stanley Cup Finals, because I mean that just sounds like a great scenario for the Islanders. But no, they allow a shorthanded goal. They don't score, and their season ends in a Game 7. You know, it is very frustrating because, again, I thought the Islanders did a fantastic job. I thought Braden Point was a non-factor. Kucherov, while clearly playing hurt, non-factor. Stamkos, non-factor. They shut Tampa Bay down. Unfortunately, Tampa Bay shut the Islanders down. And, yeah, you could say they didn't score a goal, and that's why they lost, which is absolutely true. But at the same time, if Palmieri, Leddy, and Bailey don't look like a couple of monkeys trying to hump a football and just get crossed up on that coverage and a shorthanded goal, it's a 0-0 game going into overtime, and now it's just one shot away, and I mean, and that's a fact. So yeah, I mean, you could point out they didn't score. That's true, but they really screwed up with that shorthanded goal. I don't know why Bailey or Palmieri didn't hang high in the slot. I honestly, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if they were just pressuring Cirelli so he couldn't get the puck down to the Lightning zone to kill more time, and I don't know. But it was sad to see it end like that. Being as Filk said, they hadn't allowed a shorthanded goal all year. I mean, how ridiculous is that? And their season ends on one. So yeah, it was heartbreaking. I was really disappointed, but as the sting started to wear off, the days went on. I'm proud of this Islander team. Second year in a row they got there. They pushed Tampa Bay to the limit. I mean, Tampa Bay hadn't faced elimination in over 2 years. The Islanders pushed them to the brink, and I'm sure Tampa Bay was feeling the pressure during that game. It was that close, but you know what? It does sting, but like I said, I'm proud of the team. I just wish it would have been a different ending.
Unfortunately, every single year, only one team gets to lift the cup. So you always got to remember that. And the Islanders belong there. They played sensational this entire time. John, your thoughts on Game 7? Oh, by the way, nice Brooksism that you use right there.
Brooksism?
The monkey humping a football. Herb Brooks.
Yeah.
Oh,
you're talking to me. Okay. Yeah. No. Yeah, I would agree with Goldberg's comment right there. That was the real Cup Finals, just like in '94.
Totally serial.
The '94 Eastern Conference Finals was the Stanley Cup Finals. Like if you would have flip-flopped those two series, that would have been the real Stanley Cup Finals for me, the Rangers and the Devils. But the Islanders, I mean, it kind of reminded me of the Game 7 that they played against Washington in 2015. It just seemed like they weren't getting enough high-quality, high-danger scoring chances. I mean, Vasilevsky wasn't tested too much in that game. I mean, he was good when he had to be, but you got to do better to get more chances than that. I don't know how you could. I guess if you get to overtime, you can kind of super man bear pig. Oh God, but yeah, I would say that they looked kind of. I don't know. I don't want to say disoriented, but it wasn't. They weren't on their game at all. They weren't firing on the cylinders that they had been firing on in previous games. Like in Game 6, like. Even though Tampa was up 2-0 at one point, like there was a real sense that the Islanders could win that game, and they ended up winning that game. I never got that sense in Game 7. Something just didn't. It just wasn't there. And the Islanders. I mean, if you're an Islander fan, like Anthony said, you have nothing to be ashamed of here. I mean, they played some real good, smart, tough, hard playoff hockey, and they pushed the champions to the brink. I honestly think that's probably the biggest competition that they're going to have. It's kind of like how the Red Wings, they went into Washington in the Stanley Cup Finals and just absolutely housed them after facing Dallas. And Dallas was probably going to be the toughest team they faced in '98. So Yeah, I would say that the Islanders, they did a good job. Now it's a matter of who can they keep. Oh, the we were loud banners, Justin. Yeah, but like I said, the Islanders, they have some pieces. It's a matter of who they can keep now going forward. It's going to be a real interesting offseason for them, but this is one of those postseasons where it's a memorable ride if you're a fan. Like 2014, we'll never forget 2014.
Oh yeah,
we'll never forget that. It was crazy, but you know what? The Islanders lost to a better team. There's no shame in that. And then maybe if the Lou gets creative, keeps the pieces that they have together, maybe they can rematch Tampa next year. Who the hell knows?
I'm interested. Well, first, I've said it before and I'll say it again. And somebody was at the bar last night that echoed what I said before. They missed Anders Lee, and they needed Anders Lee in this series. If they get, oh, all right, Holloway, John, don't do it, man. Don't off yourself.
Yeah,
but if only LA beat. No, you know what? See, by the way, Anthony, at least you could say you guys left it all out there, and let me address one controversy from the other night, because again, hearing about, there was too many men on the ice. It's a routine call. That's not what too many men on the ice is. I know literally there was too many men on the ice. They were in the middle of a line change. But too many men on the ice is if someone extra is coming off the bench and then they handle the puck and the other guy hasn't gotten off yet. That's too many men on the ice. Not where you're in one end of the ice and there's the guy that's 10 feet from the bench. That's
two guys onto the bench from their shift. They're literally out of the play. It's not too many men.
And the guys that were replacing them weren't in the play. That's what it was. I'll put the picture up in the edited version of this.
Yeah.
But again, look, the Islanders, we know this. Their culture is different now. They're back to looking like a winning organization, not the joke that they were. Anthony, you talked about it being, or no, John, you talked about it being Game 7 and sort of like the Capital series. That series, again, 11 shots in a Game 7. If you're my coach, you're 11 shots in a Game 7. You're not making it to the podium at the end. So it was sort of like each team was waiting for somebody to make a mistake. And like you said, Anthony, Kyle Palmieri was just watching the puck. And Yanni Gourde gets it back of the net, 1-0. You could have been beaten up on Montreal last night. So it sucks, but it is what it is. But again, there is a future for this team. So we're going to talk more about some of their moves in a little bit, but you got to look forward. And what components do you see next year being the positives that you're looking for, Anthony?
Well, positives first and foremost, they're getting their captain back. Lee's going to be healthy, ready to go, and that's huge because for instance, I know you said if he was healthy, he played Game 7. I'm not saying the Islanders win, but just having your captain on the bench and like we said before, he pulls the guys in the fight. Just having his presence on the bench, getting the guys going, that type of stuff matters in a game. So Lee next season, he'll be back. He'll score goals. He'll be the leader. And then, Barzell's a year older. He's going to remember this pain. And in the post-game presser, he was practically crying. So, he's going to hold on to that. That's going to motivate him. Nelson's going to be back. Peugeot is going to be back. So the core is going to be back. They're still going to have the same structure, same Barry Trotz coach team. Sorokin has a year of experience. They'll probably start to do more of a slow transition from Varlamov to Sorokin. So there's definitely a lot of good. It's just, again, when you get this far, you never know when you're going to get back. So that's the thing that I'm sure is hanging over their heads too. They're going to probably be motivated to reach it for the third time in a row. But there are a lot of positives, but obviously the negatives is their cap situation. And it's definitely going to be something Lou's going to have to navigate. And we'll see how he does. It's actually funny that in our honest press conferences, I'm being Lou today because Lou had his media availability. So that should be fun because he's such a respectful, professional guy. I'm gonna have to do a fun spin on that one. But I mean, he said it's going to be hard to keep the team fully intact with the expansion draft, free agency, cap. So he acknowledged that. But he said that Kyle Palmieri wants to be back, and he wants him back. So I think actually, where in the past I was thinking Cizikas comes back and Palmieri goes, the last couple of days I flip flopped. I'm thinking Palmieri stays and Cizikas goes. But that's positive because he's a goal scorer. Because imagine what would have done having Palmieri and Lee in the lineup. The goal was to have both of them, but Lee got hurt before that. So having more scoring punch on top of that will be good. And then he basically just kind of said same basic stuff. Belmont's going to be ready. They're going to have to start on the road for next season, maybe like a 2-week road trip. I'm not sure, but overall, it's positive to be an Islander fan right now, and the organization's in a good place. But like I said, the sting from this postseason is still there. But I'm looking forward to next season already.
Filk.
Come to Manhattan, Casey. Yeah, I'll take him. I'll take him, especially if I think that.
So we're moving on in about 1 minute.
Yeah, we're gonna finish this up. But, I mean, the Islanders aren't going anywhere. They might regress a little depending on what moves happen and who's lost and whatnot. But I don't. They're not going anywhere. The team's going to be around for a while. I mean, eventually, I think run into some serious cap trouble. Maybe in a couple of years, where they're going to have to be bigger decisions made, where you might start losing a core player or two. But this team isn't going anywhere right now. Not at least for like the next few. So I think they're still going to contend. I don't know how they keep Palmieri, like Anthony has said in the past, is amenable to taking a hometown discount and staying, because there's just, I don't know. Anthony is going to say LTIR land. I get it. He played one game last year, but it's an off season. He can come back and actually be healthy, and that would be the problem. And listen, I'm not trying to sit here and hate, but if you're absolutely counting on Ladd being on LTIR, then that's not exactly the smartest way to go about it. So I think Lou's going to have to get creative. I think they'll be a contender next year, but they might step back just a little bit.
Well, we want to know what your thoughts are on the close of the Islanders season, and also how is Lou going to keep this team going? And do you think that was too many men on the ice in Game 7? It wasn't, but do you think it was? All right, guys, we're going to do some bar talk. As soon as I get that,
I'm going to take a shot on this one.
I'm going to say beer.
I'm buying everybody around on this. Oh, my God.
by the way, Taylor Hall is still hockey's Bryce Harper. So welcome to the All Things Rangers Bar Talk, where we are gauging our confidence based on our choice of drink on all these NHL topics. And the one everybody's waiting for, I know they're waiting for it in the thumbnail, Rick Carpiniello came out and said that Artemi Panarin requested to play with Colin Blackwell rather than Kaapo Kakko. And that gives David Quinn a pass. John, chomping at the bit to get at this one.
You know what? When I first subscribed to The Athletic about 3 years ago, when they first really started hiring people, I was like, okay, like, you know what? There's a lot of really good writers, and Harp seemed like, you know, he had his stuff together. But I tell you, this last year or so, he became such a shill for the organization and for Quinn that I'm just like, what are you doing? And it seemed like every passing turn that he got, he would try to defend David Quinn to whatever extent that he could. And no, this does not give him a pass. I am buying shots for everybody, because that's what's going to happen here. But I don't buy this at all. I really don't. Because Colin Blackwell is a career minor leaguer. He had about 60 games worth of NHL experience heading to this season. I'm not buying that Artemi Panarin all of a sudden just said, oh, put Colin Blackwell on my line because of whatever reason. Like, I get that he liked having Jesper with him and Rydstrom, and Jesper Foss did a lot of the board work, the dirty work, but I'm not buying this at all from Colin Blackwell. And Carp can say, oh, yeah, that he's the insider, but the play styles, it doesn't mesh. It doesn't fit right. And yeah, I know that Blackwell was more productive there than Kakko, but Colin Blackwell was also shooting at over 20%. And if you think that that is sustainable, then I offer you a first-class ticket back to reality, because you're in la-la land if you think that's sustainable. It's not. Here's, for example, let's just reference something right now. We can all agree that Alexander Ovechkin is the greatest goal scorer of this generation, right? Without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah. Yep.
Probably the second best goal scorer of all time right now. You want to know what his career high in shooting percentage is for a single season?
11%.
15.4%.
Okay.
That's the greatest goal scorer of this generation, shooting at 15.4%. You think Colin Blackwell, a guy who was like 27, 28 years old, couldn't even hack it in the NHL for the longest time, is going to sustain at 22, 23%? Get out of here. It's not happening. So, Carp, I get you love Quinn, and the comment before from Ziga that stated that Carp has been off the rails since I like that one. I like that rule. Sean, keep them coming, because you and me are on the same wavelength, my friend. But that comment from Ziga, I think it says it all. Ever since the whole canning of Gorton and JD, Carp he's different. He's absolutely different. He's been writing pieces to defend Quinn to no end. I don't understand why. There's no need for it. There's no need. He's gone. He's gone. What are you getting out of that? He's gone. So let's move on. And I don't believe what he's saying for the life of pulling shot on this one. You guys feel free to elaborate.
All right. I'll jump in. I'll jump in first before you do yours. And I'm actually going to just take it as a beer. Oh, I'm going to take it as a shot for giving Quinn a pass. But I mean, it could be as simple as sort of like when Greg Mannix used to. And by the way, Filk, what about this for your choice? Do you have to choose him or Howden? Ugh. So
Blackwell there, because at least Blackwell showed that he can score you goals, but Brett Howden is just nothing but laps around.
But again, it's the coach's job to go, all right, well, you got to go with this guy. This is our future of our organization. Panarin would understand that, because after all, he was in sort of that same situation in Chicago. What if Kane was like, nah, don't give me this guy. On the other hand, it could also be like when Greg Mannix used to say, I'll take the defensive catcher to give Javier Lopez a day off. And everybody talked, oh, well, does he want to throw it to Javi? And people then said, he even said it in press conferences, I'm going to have to throw to him in the playoffs. Don't worry about that. So it's just like, it could be both guys just want the puck. And I mean, although I don't see Kakko handling it nearly as much. He produced a little bit when he was with Stroman and Panarin, but it's just, a little bit is made of this story to be the conflicting personalities, not the conflicting play styles. But again, it's going to be fine. And Panarin is a team guy. He really is. So he's not trying to destroy the Rangers' chemistry. Anthony?
No.
I'm going to go shot. I don't think it gives Quinn a pass at all, because even if Panarin did request something like that, he doesn't have to grant it. I get wanting to keep your star player happy, but at the same time, he's the coach. He makes the shots. So, but But no, he doesn't get a pass for that. And if Panarin did request it, I mean, I guess crazier things have happened. I know Mario Lemieux wanted to play with Rob Brown at some point, Gretzky, Semenko. I think sometimes star players like to play with guys with a little bit of grit just to do the hard work for them, create more space by doing the board work and all that stuff. So, it's not far-fetched, but, I don't necessarily know if I buy it either. But, again, even if he did request it, I don't think it gives Quinn a pass at all. So it's a hard shot for me.
All right. Anthony, we're going to come back to you on this one. The Islanders' cap situation is going to cost them a key piece.
So I'll go beer. If you're talking about a guy like Cizikas may walk, that could definitely happen. But if by key piece you're insinuating they would lose someone Beauvillier or Nelson, that won't happen. Those guys are core players. They'll move other guys before they have to do something like that. So, yeah, they may lose a guy like Cizikas because of their cap crunch. They won't be able to retain him, or maybe even they can't keep Palmieri. Maybe they lose him, but they're not going to subtract any of their main pieces, i.e. Barzal, Nelson, Pelech, Polak. None of those guys will go. So I'll go beer because I do think they aren't going to keep the team together, like Lou said. So maybe they do. Maybe Letty's a cap casualty or Eberle, but they're not going to lose a high-end piece. So, beer.
Phil?
By key piece, like Anthony's differentiating, core, or we're just talking like an impact?
I guess core.
If we're
We'll
talking,
go with that.
that's a shot for me then. It's an absolute shot. They're not losing a core player because of their cap situation. Not at least right now. Maybe a couple years down the road, because eventually, you got to remember, you're going to have to give deals for Oliver Wahlstrom, Noah Dobson. Ilya Sorokin obviously is going to need a new deal. And then Matt Barzal in 2 years after this one. So, eventually it's going to give them a problem. But right now, no. I'm going to say
And again, I guess, you know what? I was going to say beer, definitely. But you know what? I got to say shot now because we redefined what a key piece is. I was thinking Palmieri at first, but no, it's not going to happen. So they're going to try to find a way in there. I think they're still going to lose Palmieri, even though they said they might likely keep him. It's just I can't see him taking that much of a discount to stay with the Islanders. The union, I don't think, would let him. Moving on back to the Stanley Cup Finals. Nikita Kucherov deserves the Conn Smythe more than Braden Point. And you know what? I think I'll start this one. Oof. It's getting closer, but I'm going to go beer on this. The reason why is both guys were pressing historical territory with Wayne Gretzky for the assists with the Kucherov in the last 2 years. He's the only person being mentioned with Wayne Gretzky. And Braden Point trying to challenge Reggie Leach and Yari Curry's record. And he still needs to pass Joe Sakic anyway. But which do you value more? We kind of argued this earlier in the year about McDavid versus Matthews for the Hart. It's goals or points. That's where it is. But Kucherov, I would have to say, he's got a real claim to it after tonight. Who knows? Maybe Point rattles off a hat trick in game 2 and changes that. Filk?
I'm going to reference something that I think I referenced yesterday, and I've referenced it before in the past on other platforms. Alexander Ovechkin winning the Conn Smythe in 2018 over Evgeny Kuznetsov with his 32-point postseason. The assists are great, but goals are a premium. And Braden Point is the best playoff goal scorer we've seen in quite some time, probably sans Alexander Ovechkin. So you can't really undersell what Braden Point has done. To have a goal in 9 straight games in playoffs. Unless the wheels completely fall off in this, if Braden Point finishes with 17+ goals in this postseason, I don't see any way that he doesn't win the Conn Smythe. So I'm gonna say shot here.
By the way, I'm not sure if this is a dark horse, but Vasilevsky. And his numbers are ridiculous. They're all under 2 goals against.
I would actually give him the runner-up over Kucherov if that ends up being the case. Because if you think about it, Tampa Bay went from, in their first Stanley Cup run, Funny enough, they beat the Islanders in the first round that year. And Hobby Bullet had a historical run that year during the playoffs. 3 shutouts in the finals. Ridiculous. And now, all of a sudden, they have all those bad years of not being able to draft and find a goaltender. Your John Grahams, your Karen Rapp, all those guys in between. Then they draft Andrei Vasilevsky, and now Vasilevsky is having a postseason for the ages. Go figure.
Yeah. But getting back to Braden Point and getting over to Anthony, like the goal he scored in game 6 versus the Islanders, Adam Pelech was on his knees just looking up going, what do I have to do to stop this guy? So Anthony, take it over.
I'm actually gonna go shot here. I think it's Point. I mean, don't get me wrong, Kucherov has the points to show for it. But Point's just been more dynamic. I think he's the engine that's really making them go. And Kucherov has gotten a lot of his points on the power play. So for me, it's Point. I mean, for instance, that whole series against the Islanders, I know it's hard to fathom. Kucherov did not score 1 goal against the Islanders that series. Not one. I mean, credit to, the Islanders hold him in check, but still not one. So, yeah, he scored, 2 last night? So, I mean, who knows? He can go off in this round and win it. But for me, it's Braden Point. I think he's been their most dynamic player. He's been their best player. So, for me, this was easy.
Yeah. All right.
Two quick points before we go on. You talked about how if Kucherov was non-existent really in that Islanders series. Bill Radford won the Conn Smythe in 1990 for the Oilers. But if it wasn't for Marc Messier and his performance against the Blackhawks in the Campbell Conference Finals, they don't get to that Stanley Cup Finals. Marc Messier drove them past. Not only that, but another analogy I can bring up is Sidney Crosby winning the Conn Smythe 2 years in a row over Phil Kessel and Matt Murray in 2016 when Kessel led the playoffs in scoring, and then over Evgeny Malkin in 2017. Because 1, he plays a more important position. 2, he's a better all-around player. So when you're taking on the tough matchups, you're still producing offensively, and you're playing a real good two-way game, they're going to recognize that, and they're going to give you it.
All right. Here's a topic that we're kind of chomping at the bit on this one, especially with people trying to talk about this. But Montreal is proving that the NHL needs to expand the playoffs. Anthony, I want to hear your take before John and I go off.
So you know what? I've been a proponent of at least seeing why the league would want to expand because, I mean, it was maybe even a year ago. John and I discussed this. We had a good conversation about it, and he made some good points, and I feel I had mine too. I always said, like, for instance, if the 8th seed had, I'm going to make up an arbitrary number, 87 points. And the 9th seed had 86 points, but that 8th seed, lost more times in a shootout, had more that type of getting more points from losing in overtime, where the 9th place team actually just had more wins, but the way it worked out, they had more points. It's like you could see the argument of why that team at least doesn't have a chance to play in the playoffs. But me also being somewhat a traditionalist, I also understand of just keeping it normal. But the Montreal right now, what they're doing, I think is going to, like Pierre LeBrun was an advocate for it. And he said in his article last week that Bettman still doesn't want it. But if Bettman sees a team in the Montreal Canadiens going to the Stanley Cup Finals, who actually had less points than 2 teams in the Dallas Stars and the Rangers who missed the playoffs, I mean, what it kind of gives more of a case to those people who want that play-in tournament to expand when they look at the Canadiens right now, because the Canadiens, if the NHL went by straight points, they had less points than, like I said, 2 other teams. So should they even be there? So there is a conversation for it, and I don't know, if Bettman's the ultimate decider or the board of governors will have to vote on it, but LeBrun said he thinks it's inevitable in the next couple of years. So I won't lose sleep about it if they do, and I also won't if they won't. I'm kind of one of those that are like on the fence about it, but it's a tough call. I honestly see both sides, so it's going to be interesting to see how this goes, the conversation in the future.
Filk.
The one thing that this is reaffirming for me is that the NHL needs to get rid of loser points. You need to get rid of loser points. It has to come. It's too much. You're giving a point for somebody just to getting to overtime, and there are times even the 2020 Islanders got in there because of loser points, and you know what, they ended up having a real good run to the conference finals. But if they don't get those loser points from losing in shootouts and just getting to overtime, they're not in the playoff format. They're not even a play-in team at that point. I want to go to a 3-point system. I want to go for 3.
I would much rather do that too.
Yeah, 3 points for regulation, 2 points for an overtime win, 1 point for a shootout win, and 0 points for any type of loss. Like, enough with giving loser points. Get away from it. Start giving more points to teams and start giving them incentives to actually play to win instead of playing just to get to overtime and lose and get a point. Make it competitive. You want to see teams score? Give them an incentive to go for it. So I'm shocked. This is if anything, I get why they would do it. Money, more views, more TV time, new TV contract. It makes sense. I get it. But as a traditionalist, and I'm not even a big traditionalist, but no, please no.
Well, first, by the way, MG, we're going to answer that the comment that you have, the question that you have down below soon. We'll do it after the segment or at the end of this one. But getting to this one, no, absolutely not. And you know what? I might be a dinosaur, but if not for 11 extra loser points, they would have missed the playoffs. But I might be a dinosaur because I actually want you little things like baseball to play a full 9-inning game instead of these idiotic 7-inning doubleheaders. Or maybe I think sort of like if you're grading the NCAA tournament and you have to worry about the 69th best team in the country, then just shut up. Just absolutely just shut up. And the other thing is, if somebody comes up with an idea, and let's run this idea, instead of playing the format that we have right now, we have all 32 teams. They play a round robin against each other. And then at that time, we start bracketing off the top 16 teams. And then you just described the current format. No, this is such a shot. Stop with these tournaments. It's ridiculous in the NBA. It's baseball's a different story. One and done. There you go. Stop. This is ridiculous. We need to worry about whether or not the 18th best team in the league can get in.
For someone that's on the fence about it, like one way or the other, I'm not really for or against it. So I just have a question for you guys. So what do you say to the people who advocate for it and point to, well, look, Montreal, yeah, they had less points than some non-playoff teams, but then they say, aren't they proving the point that once you get in, anything can happen? So what do you say to that? Like for instance, last year, the Blackhawks shouldn't have been in the playoffs, but they beat the Oilers and went in. So what do you say to the point of, is there something to be said for, once you get in, anything can happen? So why not give a team like that a chance? Because they're proving that they can beat actual teams who are in playoff spots.
Okay, I'll feel that one. Just because one team might match up better against another team doesn't mean that we need to let in every single team. Why don't we let in the worst team in the league? Why don't we go all the way down to Buffalo? Buffalo could have beaten someone. Maybe. I don't know who that would be. But, I mean, what happens then if you're doing that? You're just taking on – then there's no point of playing the regular season whatsoever. Just play the playoffs.
Yeah, it diminishes the results in the regular season. I agree with that.
I mean, it completely diminishes the results of the regular season. It's awful. And you know what? That's why playoff brackets matter. That's why your playoff matchups matter. Because again, it's sort of like, take for instance the Rangers. The Rangers missed the playoffs by I forgot what the final total was, 6 or 17 points, because they didn't show up in the last week because David Quinn couldn't get his team up. But the last 3 weeks. They showed up in the last week to beat Boston. But and yes, no, you're welcome. But it's just I don't understand this thinking, and I don't want to just say it's because I'm old school and everything, and I believe in, people should earn things, but it's so like participation trophy stuff. Get the hell out of here. If the Rangers wanted to make the playoffs this year, you had to be better than Boston and better than the Islanders and better than Washington, and they weren't. That's what it comes down to. It's not that they need to expand the playoffs to make sure the Rangers get in. Because next year we're in that same format. We're back to the wild card, I believe. So
you know what? Also, I know we want to move on here, but you also look at it from the leagues. There's a financial aspect in this too. If they do it, you're talking, what would that be? 7 versus 10, 8. So you're talking four teams that get more, revenue from playing a playoff game, and it's all about dollar signs. And I'm sure that's a contributing driver in the league's decision too, possibly.
Oh, okay. So you want to talk dollar signs? What do you think is more profitable for the NHL? A play-in round, so where maybe that underdog wins and then they get smacked in the next series, or Tampa Bay get smacking around Montreal in the Stanley Cup Finals, or Tampa Bay playing the Islanders in the Stanley Cup Finals and it being an absolute 7-game thriller? What's more profitable? What gets you more views? The latter gets you more views, not the former. The former ain't getting you shit. I can tell you that right now. If this becomes a short series, one, you're going to see a lot of fans turn away because they know what's going to happen. So there's no incentive to watch. And two, you're going to get less games. So just to add in a participation trophy round for a bunch of teams that really don't deserve to be in and diminish your regular season and take away from the tradition of the product, to get a couple of extra dollars that you would get back anyway with better product in the playoffs doesn't make sense to me. Where's the end game?
That's a good point.
I don't see it. And for the comment about the not liking the 3-point system, this is what you get when you don't have the 3-point system. You get a team that gets in on loser points, they get hot, and then they get smacked around by a better team because they're not playing a couple of paper tigers. Yeah, it could help with revenue, Goldberg, but
it will. Yeah, I think so.
It will, but yes, the first 3 quarters of NBA games. Yeah, it's pointless. Who watches the first 3 quarters of the NBA game outside of basketball fans?
Yeah.
No one. You're casual.
Because whoever scores the first basket of a basketball game, nobody's going to remember.
Yeah, exactly. Nobody remembers who scored the first basket. Nobody remembers who scored the first basket of the first 3 quarters.
Yeah.
But they remember who scored the last few baskets in the final minutes of the fourth quarter. So it doesn't make any sense to me. It really doesn't. And like you said, it diminishes the value of the regular season. And you know what? Another thing this is proving that the NHL needs to go back to a 1 format. You need to go back to 1 through 8 seeds.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with. Absolutely. And
definitely not the
right.
1 through 16 format, but yeah.
I get last year having to do the expanded playoffs because not all the teams played the same amount of games. For instance, the Blue Jackets were the 8th seed, the Islanders were the 9th, but by virtue of points percentage, the Islanders were really 8th. So I understand reasons like that. They had to level it out in some way to have a play-in round. But I guess the more I think about it, the more I say leave it as it is, because it just becomes, because then at that point, I guess if they do it, at what point do you cut it off and say no? At what point does the 11th place team say, okay, well, I was 1 point behind the 10th place team. Why don't I get a chance to have a play? So, yeah, I guess it starts to become real dicey.
It's also, I can't help but say, do we really need more games this year from Calgary, from Dallas, from the Rangers? Dallas had a shot at making the playoffs. All they had to do was win their games.
Yeah.
And they no-showed in the last week as well.
Here, you want to talk about financials too? Who the hell was watching those regular season games with Calgary and Vancouver while the playoffs were going on? I don't know if anybody was watching.
Nobody.
They were being played in the afternoon when no one's really home to watch them, except for the people who work night shifts, aka Marc. But you know what? You're not getting any viewership there. I don't know who wants to watch subpar hockey when you're getting geared for the playoffs. Doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make any sense, and that's part of the problem. And again, I'm sorry, you have to earn things in the world in order to get in there. And by the way, just to say one more thing, they can add as many more rounds in the playoffs as they can. The Toronto Maple Leafs still won't win one. So,
but teams do they add? When, like Anthony said, where's the cutoff? How many teams do you add?
yeah. Do the wait.
See,
half the playoffs is going to make the half the league is going to make the playoffs next year. How many more teams are you going to add and turn this into a participation trophy?
See, with that comment right there, that actually used to happen when there was the Southeast Division and every team sucked, and they essentially, like the Thrashers, would get third place just because they were division leaders, so they had to be, that third spot, whereas the fourth and fifth place team had more points than them. I mean, to me, that doesn't really bother me too much, so I'll still gladly take the 1-8 format. Yeah, that doesn't really bother me. He has a point. That used to happen all the time. The winner of that Southeast Division would get a top 3 spot, but I mean, so be it. I mean, it didn't. My opinion, it didn't really grind my gears that much.
The one thing I'm going to say about this one, and the only reason why I'm against that is because travel does play a thing. And I'll point out the 1994 New York Rangers. They were the oldest team in the league, and they had to travel through. They had to go to the Islanders. They had to go to Washington. They had to go to the Devils. They didn't get on a plane until Game 3 of the Stanley Cup Finals. Travel does matter, and that's why you don't want to be the President's Trophy team and then have to fly all the way to Los Angeles, or worse, if let's say Florida wins the number 1 overall seed and Seattle somehow gets the 16th, you don't want to go Florida to Seattle, back to Florida.
That's travel costs on the NHL, and they lose out money that way. So the extra money that you're getting from these extra games, and then having it in a 1/16, you're losing that money because you got to put it towards travel expenses.
Yeah.
So Goldberg's right. There's always going to be a left out. There's always going to be a conversation. Go back to the 1-6. Go back to the 1-8. And you know what? Give the 2 division winners 1 and 2, and let the other teams sort themselves out. Don't give out any more than 2 seeds, and then let the other teams sort themselves out 3 through 8. That's it.
And the old 1 through 8 format was just the 2 divisions. That was back in the early 90s. When it went to 3 divisions, that was where the Southeast Division ended up being the 3 seed. But even at that, we had a few years ago where 2017, the last time the Rangers made the playoffs, that basically it was, do you want to be the 3rd seed and play? I forgot who they were supposed to play. I think it was Pittsburgh or something like that. Or do you want to be the 4th seed in the wild card, the first wild card, and go play Montreal?
Yeah,
the Rangers went on to play Montreal.
Yeah, that's why I hate the wild card though, because you're essentially, you can almost choose your matchup. Don't do that. Win and get a higher seed.
I'm again the oldest one in the room. So, but what does the winner have to?
Because there's travel expenses involved, MG. That's why.
Yeah, that is true. The travel expenses do play a role in this. So, actually, I should have read that off. But
does it really make sense to have teams going back and forth across the nation, and then having to further schedule out the games because of travel expenses? You can finish up series quicker and get to the off season quicker. Give the players more in off season, which they want. You have any player in the league, they're going to tell you they want a little bit of a longer off season because this one is going to be a short one for them.
Yeah, and then tack on that they might have to move things ahead for the Olympic break. Mm-hmm. All right, we actually still have so much more that we're chomping on the bit about this, but we have to move on because this is also big news today. That Ryan Nugent-Hopkins deal is a signal of the flat cap era effects. And Filk, you suggested it, so you start off.
Yeah, that's a round for me. I know that he took a little bit of a discount to stay, but the probably $7 million that he was looking for, he wasn't going to get in the open market, and I have a feeling that him and his agent both knew that. So, I'm absolutely buying everybody around on. I think it's going to hurt someone like Philip Deneau, who is not having a great postseason offensively. 0 goals, 3 points so far. And he was looking – actually, he turned down a deal from Montreal that was 6 years and $30 million, so $5 million a year. He ain't getting that anymore. Definitely not after this, and definitely not after his postseason. What does that say for Casey Zizekas, who was looking for a raise $3.35 million, I believe it is, Anthony?
Yeah,
3.35, yeah.
So, yeah, what does that say for someone like him? Honestly, you know what? There's going to be a lot of guys. I think you're going to see like someone like Tomas Tatar, who was almost a point per game last year for Montreal. He's going to probably end up having a discount too. I think there are a lot of guys that are really going to be adversely affected by this. Barry normally would have been in for a big payday. He'll probably get less because he's really a puck mover, not really good in his own head. Dougie Hamilton might even have to take less at this point. And they were talking about him getting between $8 and $9 million a year. So, yeah, I'm buying everybody around on that.
Anthony.
I was going to go round, but then I thought about it and I switched to beer. And I say that only because, yeah, Nugent Hopkins was making $6 million on his previous deal. Now he's making $5 million, but that was because he wanted to stay with the Oilers. I think if he would have tested free agent at the very least, he would have been able to get $6 million again, which would have been the same as he was making. So I think a team out there would have gave him 6. So while there are a lot of teams that are cap strapped, and he certainly wouldn't have got a raise, but I think he still could have at least maintained his current rate if he hit free agency. But kudos to him. He was a loyal guy. He played his whole career there. He said Monaheim himself, but Rashog and some of the other guys who cover the Oilers said he did it because he wanted to remain a Oiler for the rest of his career, and that's what he valued. So he agreed to take $5 million. But like John says, that does affect guys like Zizekas. And, even though I said before, I do think right now I'm leaning towards Zizekas leaving. At the same time, maybe if Zizekas really enjoys being an Islander, like Matt Martin says, then maybe he takes $1 million less to stay with the Islanders, So it really all depends what the guy's value. If a guy's loyal and he truly loves it, maybe you do it. But some guys don't care and they just want to make as much money as possible. So, I mean, we'll see. But I do think it's kudos to Ryan Nugent-Hopkins for doing that, because I do think he could have at least maintained his salary. That's like any of us leaving our job. We make $70,000 a year and we leave our job and we take the same amount at the other job, which rarely happens. Usually when you move to another job, you get a raise. But that's essentially what Nugent-Hopkins did. He took the same amount of money to stay where he is. So,
but wouldn't it show you that the flat cap is affecting the market? Because you're not going to get the raise and you're just going to get the same amount of money. It's kind of strapping everybody then.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, I do think he didn't have to take a pay cut. I think he could have maintained his salary if he would have went to free agency. But again, for him, I guess money isn't everything. And, kudos to the Oilers for getting him signed though. So, but yeah, I flip-flopped on this one, but I didn't go either way, but I guess I'll stick with beer.
I'm actually gonna stick with beer on this one, even though it could easily be around. I think it is. I'll put this one on the player wanting to stay. I have no idea why. We talked about Connor McDavid's only won one playoff series more than Jack Eichel, and that's Ryan Nugent-Hopkins has 4 more years on him on that. So why would you want to stay? Why wouldn't you want to leave? He could have easily have tested the market and pushed teams like the Rangers, who are possibly in the market for a center. It's every team needs a center, and they could always use a guy to be a number 2 center, and that's how you end up just pushing that. Yeah, Chris, absolutely. I was kind of gonna block myself in Arkham during 2014 as well.
Chris, you should have saw me after the game. I certainly wasn't fine.
But
my wife was like, "How come you didn't come to bed for like an hour after they lost?" And I'm like, honestly, I was decompressing and wallowing in my own sorrows.
in our Q&A session, I'm going to come back to this one because I'm going to have a question for you guys on that. But again, with Nugent-Hopkins, he could have pushed the market, gotten a better contract. Instead, he decided, I'm going to stay. Good for him. Kudos being a team guy. But I think that's going to affect the market too. Now everybody's going to look over and go, that's the deal. That was the new deal that was just signed. That's what you have to go with. And it's another reason why you got to be wary about trading for a Jack Eichel, because he's already got the contract for when his money, the contracts were exploding. So that's how you screw up your cap, by going after bad contracts. So for one thing, I guess good for Nugent Hopkins. What's that, Phil?
Dominoes.
Yeah, they're dominoes.
I'm honestly kind of surprised the Oilers gave him 8 years too. I mean, I thought that he yeah, I think if I did that, I would have been sleeping in this chair where I'm sitting right now.
Yeah. Oh, Tony, I would have killed you.
Yeah.
So, all right, we're gonna move on from there, and because this one pertains to that Nugent Hopkins deal and the lack of free agency, the trade market will be more important than the free agent market. And I'm gonna have to buy everybody around on this one, because the two top names that are there are Jack Eichel and Seth Jones. That's gonna change around. That could change around their tectonic plates. That could do everything. As much as I'm wary about trading around Jack Eichel, God only knows if Jack Eichel is healthy, then he's going to go to a team. Boom, they're instant contenders. So, and Seth Jones might be a missing piece for, say, like at the Toronto Maple Leafs or somebody. I know, but Toronto still ain't going to win a playoff series. That it's just that's what it's going to be. It's going to be the trade market and moving around guys. Anthony.
Yeah, I'm gonna go round, because I think the trade market is going to affect free agency and vice versa. I think there are a lot of teams. Well, and I know there are a lot of teams that are in the same boat. Not much cap space, so I think there are going to be teams that want to sign a player in free agency, but they're not going to be able to do it unless they make a trade to free up the room. So I think the trade market's going to be really big, especially with Seattle coming into the league. I think a lot of teams are going to utilize Seattle as a way to pawn off contracts they don't want, and Seattle's going to reap the benefits of it because they're going to get good assets to take back a couple of players they normally wouldn't. So, I honestly think this is interesting to be a very active trade season, just because, again, teams are going to have to move pieces around to try to free up some space. And, you mentioned Dougie Hamilton. There could be teams like, the Flyers who want Hamilton, but, they need to make some moves before they could sign him. So, for me, I definitely think it's going to be big on this. So I'm going to go round for sure.
By the way, Sean, everybody has to inquire about the trade. You better get full examination. Filk.
Well, I'll start with going into Sean's comment there. Brooks actually wrote that they're inquiring about the injury, but they're not giving the medical records to any team that isn't in some sort of serious stage of negotiation. Fair, but I think any team that wants to get serious is going to want to see those before they start getting real serious. So I think Kevin Adams better start, giving some more information out to the other GMs of the league if he really wants to get a deal done, especially before the draft, which I believe he does, because like I said in the past, he wants to have that pick to make his own pick, to let his scouting staff take a player instead of taking a prospect drafted by another team. So that's number one there. Number two, I'm buying rounds for everybody. Alexa, play Beer by Real Big Fish, because I'm buying round beer for everybody. Yeah, doing a little 90s ska throwback here. You're talking about Eichel. Everybody's kicking the tires on Eichel. I mean, a lot of teams that are actually seriously interested in are going to go elsewhere once they realize where he ends up. Teams are going to have to make here. Did you guys hear me there?
Yeah, I heard you.
Yeah,
you were a little bit choppy, but I heard you at the end.
Yeah, all three screens black on me, so it was. But I mean, teams that are making inquiries on Eichel are going to need to make space, and then obviously for Seth Jones, same thing. A lot of teams are going to be on him. I know the Flyers are one of the teams that have linked. Probably the most notably team to Seth Jones at this point, but Dougie Hamilton. Then, once Seth Jones' situation gets figured out, then teams can switch focus to Dougie Hamilton. And, Anthony mentioned before, they may not get those same Vegas trades, that, like the Florida trades where they stupidly gave up Marchessault and Smith to protect Petrovic. But Seattle's going to take advantage of their cap space, and they are going to get good assets. So that's going to spruce things up. Trade market is going to be the center of everything, especially in a flat cap world, because that's why I brought that thing up about Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. Because in a normal salary cap free agent frenzy, teams are overpaying players left and right, whether it's by $500K, million, $2 million, whatever the case may be. Free agency, players get overpaid. Players are not going to get overpaid this offseason. The teams just don't have the capability or the wherewithal to do it. So now the trade market becomes more important than ever, and there's more focus on it, and you have less of a free agent pool than you had in previous years. What really interests me, though, is what's going to happen with Gabriel Landeskog in Colorado. That, to me, I think is going to take up a lot of the free agent focus this offseason. So I'm around on this.
And I also asked this question, and the NHL's active goal-scoring leader is technically a free agent. There's no way Ovechkin leaves, right?
I think that's because they're just because if they sign him now, they have to protect him. So by leaving him unsigned, that enables them to have another spot to protect.
Yeah, and they got rid of that rule of that if Seattle then picked them,
because they know
they can get that compensation.
Seattle's not going to take Ovechkin. If he did, that'd be dumb. He's going to say, "Okay, well, thanks for picking me, but I'm not signing with you, and you just wasted your pick on me." So, it's a no-brainer. I wouldn't be surprised if they already have a verbal agreement to whatever.
Mike Richter, 1998 expansion draft, picked by Nashville. Said, "Nope, I'm going back to New York."
Yep,
same thing.
And I think there was another guy that was in there that in that expansion draft that did the same thing besides him. All right, but obviously we want to know about you. Think we were fired up about the Montreal expanding the playoff segment because again, I think it's ridiculous. But put it in the comments below. Do you think that Kucherov should win the Conn Smythe? Do you think the Islanders are going to lose a key player? Kaapo Kakko not playing with Panarin because he doesn't want him to be? I don't know. I don't like that one either. Actually, you know what? Before we completely close out this segment, I got to circle back. We were talking about the flat cap. Filk, what do you think that's going to affect on Mika Zibanejad?
I think Mika's slow start this season hurts him. I would say looking at what's been going on with contracts, especially Nugent-Hopkins, how he took that discount. I always said that if Mika Zibanejad got a contract free agency, he didn't have the season that he had, started off and played like he did in 2020, I would say that he was looking for somewhere between 9 and 10 million. But I mean, if he wants to stay in New York and he wants to take a discount, he wants to be a part of this team, like Nugent-Hopkins, wink, wink, Mika, wink, you might be looking at 8 million or less for him. And if you can get him for 8 million or less, that enables you to bring in another center like an Eichel or someone else that's closer to that $8 million range who's a better player than Ryan Strome, if you can find someone like that. So I would say Mika Zibanejad, this is going to affect him too because the cap's not going up after this season either. It's going to take a bit.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. So we obviously want to know what you think. Put it down in the comments below. Sorry that I'm not camera ready, but at least you get to see my Zelda hat. So we're going to do some honest press conferences.
Connor, just can you give me your sense of kind of where the group is at?
Once again, my teammates come up short.
So we like to do these honest press conferences where we know that the athletes can't say something because it would be too controversial. So you know what? That's what we're here to do. We're here to talk for them. And to start off the honest press conferences today, we're going to go with Mr. John Filkowski as Seth Jones.
Being the son of an NBA player has its perks. I grew up playing hockey in Denver. My father was a Denver Nugget, Popeye Jones. You may or may not have heard from him, but that's not really the point here. But I grew up playing hockey, and I was afforded some luxuries that other kids weren't. So I made it to the NHL, and now I kind of get to pick where I go because I'm about to become a free agent after this upcoming season. And I do not feel like staying in Columbus. The team has gone in a different direction. They say my play's regressed. Okay. Everybody talks about my defensive partner, Zach Werenski. Zachy's a real good one. Love him. Got nothing but good things to say about him. But I still think I'm a stud too. And I think I'm worth every penny in the market. And Columbus, as you might have seen that article in The Athletic that came out earlier on in this year, or at the end of last year, I forget when it was, but they play hardball with their players. They don't like to pay them. They just don't care. It's just their attitude. They're very nonchalant about it. It's kind of their way or the highway. So, Yarno, you want to play that? I can play that game too. And I went out because I don't like the direction that this club is going in. And I don't like the fact that players keep leaving. It doesn't seem like there's ever going to be a future here. You guys aren't getting Jack Eichel because you guys don't have the pieces for it. And I just don't want to be here anymore. Management doesn't treat us right. City is not exactly the greatest city to live in. Yeah, if like you're a college student and you like living in the college city in that area, yeah, it's cool. Not saying it's a bad city, but it's just not what I want to live in. I'd rather go back to Texas. I'd rather go to maybe Colorado, play in the bright lights of New York. Or maybe the city of brotherly love might have something good for me because I know they need a defender. But I can tell you right now, if you don't trade me, you're not going to get anything for me because I'm not re-signing with you guys. So do whatever you want. Trade me to a good place where you can get a good return from me. But I'll be honest with you, I'm not staying. So do something now because it's now or never. I'll take questions.
Seth, as you obviously know, you've seen previous your teammates have the parade out of Columbus, Bobrovsky, Panarin, Duchesne, Dubois asking for out. Don't you take any pride in being the guy that could stay there and turn it around? I know they had said that, that you would have been the future captain and that being that they lost so many good guys, they were going to invest money in you to keep you. Are you just essentially being a copycat and you're just doing it too? Or why do you want out of Columbus? I guess goes back to my original question. Why don't you want to take some pride in turning this around and really leading this team? Seems like you're taking the easy way out by asking for out here.
What attachment do I have to this franchise? I wasn't drafted by this franchise. I was traded here. Nashville drafted me. I fell in my draft year, and Nashville decided they wanted to take me. They were having a good team. They had a bunch of guys that they could have developed. We could have been an elite defensive core for years. Now they send me to Columbus for Ryan Johansson. And Ryan Johansson, what has Ryan Johansson done in Nashville?
He played in the Stanley Cup final.
He played in the Stanley Cup final, but what really has he done? He hasn't developed as a player. His best season actually came here, funny enough, before he was traded for me. So, Torts may be gone, but it's not just about sports. It's about the organization itself. It's about the fact that I don't owe anybody anything. I can choose where I want to play. I've bled. I've sweat. I've cried to get here. I've put in my work. I've paid my dues. So now my right comes to choose where I go. And it's not here. And where would you rather live? Would you rather live in New York or would you rather live in Columbus? Answer me that.
Yeah, that goes without saying.
Well, I mean, that's honestly, Seth, that's preference. Some people are city folk, some people are country boys. Yet it really all depends on what your personal preference is.
But answer the question though. Don't dance around it. Answer the question. Where would you rather live?
Me personally, I'd rather live in New York.
There you go. What would you rather play for? A team that's on the downswing, that's this close to going scorched earth, or a team that has their stuff together and looks like they're going to be a good team going forward?
I'd rather play for a winner.
There you go. So you just answered why I would want to leave this place. And I'm not going to trash it and say it's a shithole, but it's not trending in the right direction, obviously. So I want to go play for a winner. Trade me to a winner. I'm giving you a heads up. I'm not pulling a John Tavares. I'm not being a snake, as you would call him. And I'm giving you a heads up and saying I want out. I'm doing the right thing here. So I don't know why I'm being trashed when I'm doing something to help out the organization in a way. So next question.
Seth, you have a modified no trade clause. And because there's actually a two-part question. One, where are some cities that you absolutely do not want to go? And do you want to go somewhere where you can be a true number one defenseman? Or do you want to take a step back and be a number two?
Well, I mean, I can tell you right now, I don't want to go to a place like Buffalo because their management is in shambles. Their owner has no clue of what he or she is doing, depending on who's running it between Terry and there. I don't want to go to Jersey because I play in a place where I could get mugged outside of my own arena. That's just not really an enticing place to play for. I can tell you right now, I don't want to go to Siberia, aka Edmonton, because I'm not dealing with that weather in the winter. Because that's just, you walk outside and you can get frostbite in about 5 minutes. So no thanks to that. But other than that, I'm amenable to where I could play. I want to play for a team that has a chance of winning. I want to play, for a team where the management actually appreciates their players, doesn't play hardball with them the way that they do here in Columbus, and actually shows a genuine appreciation towards the players themselves. I mean, I'm not going to say that the amenities aren't up to standard, but they're not first class here. I don't know if you saw that article that I referenced before, but that's true. So give me an organization that has a winning pedigree, that has a future, and that has some good pieces already in place. If I'm the number one defenseman, great. That's awesome. I'll gladly take the reins as the rock on defense. But if I'm not, and there's another guy that I can complete a top pairing with, awesome. Let's go win a cup then. So
I'm going to put your feet to the fire. Name a team where you want to go.
Colorado.
Okay. Go back home.
Yeah.
All right. Seth, thank you very much. You're a pleasure to join us, and I'd have you on my team any day of the week.
You're welcome.
Seth Jones, by the way, who has the NHL record for most minutes played in an NHL game in that 5 overtime game. I believe it was 70 minutes. Now we're going to go to one of the young guys, as we're going to have to hear from Cole Caulfield of the Montreal Canadiens, and he's played by me. All right, look. Obviously, the Canadiens needed to call an American so that way they could get some scoring done. I mean, they were so bad at scoring, they reminded me of Mark Williams' love life. It's just, this is what they needed. They needed me. They were hot for me. They knew I was going to be great. And look at what I've done. I got the most goals for anybody that's before they scored their first NHL goal since Chris Kreider in 2012. And you know something? You got to go with USA. And we're only going to get even better because you know something? The Lightning are scared. They're scared of me because of my speed, my quickness. You see how embarrassed Robin Leonard was with that shot that I put over his glove side? He was like, oh, God, come on. I can't believe that kid hit that shot. But you know what? I'm injecting life into the Canadiens, and they're all loving me right now. So the future's bright north of the border. I'm going to start learning some French. I will start taking some questions.
Cole, what do you say? Because you said that the Lightning are scared of you. What do you have to say about your performance in Game 1 then? Because they've basically neutralized you and your centerman Nick Suzuki.
Well, you know, it's just one game. We'll get it back. I mean, Nicky's great. Come on. I mean, there's a reason why the Canadiens got him, and they were able to get rid of, you know, that other U.S. guy, Max Pacioretty. But I'm going to inject some life into this franchise. It's going to be awesome. And yeah, we're not done. We're not done yet. We're still in the Stanley Cup Finals. It's going to be okay. So, next question.
Cole, your draft year, there was a lot of surprise that you dropped as far as you did. Do you hold any ill will against the teams that passed up on you?
All I know is they're going to have a bunch of goalies. They're going to be looking up to the stars going, you couldn't have drafted this guy. It's just, I should have been higher. That's the way it was. I forgot where I went. I think I went to the Canadians at like 15 or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's what happens when you pass up on a good talent. You just want to be, you just want to absolutely be, you want to show them you should have taken me. That's the way you want to always treat that. But it's just, you know what? You got to recognize the talent. In USA, we've been showing it in our junior tournaments, and we're going to be getting even better. So that's why the Canadians want everyone get me that American.
Cole, what do you say about people who are people and the scouts that have knocked you because of your size? You seem to be having no problem really overcoming that.
You know what? They always say you can't teach size, but you know what else you can't teach? Can't teach speed. And I am perfect for that Canadian system that we're just going to sit back and play back. And again, I'll point out that goal I had the other night on Robin Leonard that we sat back, chipped it up, bang. I put it in the back of the net, out racing that defenseman. I don't even, who was that? Nick Holden? Nick Holden's going to be out and catch me skating? No, I don't think that's going to happen. No. So let's go.
Thanks, Cole.
Thanks, Cole.
Thank you. All right. And last, but definitely not least, he's got to talk about his offseason plans. Anthony LaRocco of Blue Lamorilla.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks, John, for having me on here. As you know, my team, we lost in Game 7 of the conference semifinal, to Tampa Bay, and it was a little disappointing. But this team's got a good future. But you know what? I'm Big Lou. I'm the second consecutive GM winner of the year award. And I'm going to work my magic here. We have a lot of guys that are due for contracts. Adam Pelech, Ilya Sorokin, Anthony Beauvillier, Kyle Palmieri, who I'm already in talks with. He's a Long Island boy. He expressed to me his desire to stay on the island, so I hope to get that done. And I hope to be able to retain Casey Cizikas too. It's going to be tough to fit everything in, but I have my work cut out for me. But I'm going to do what's best for this team, and I'm going to try to keep them intact as much as I can. But again, I go back to I'm big freaking Lou. I'm the Don. The Godfather, the Horsehead. They did that after me. I'm mafioso. People have tied that to me, and I'm letting the cat out of the bag. I am. I essentially do what I want. Gary Bettman, that first Kovalchuk contract I tried to register, he vetoed. I went back to the drawing board. I did it again. Well, after he vetoed the first one, Horsehead in his bed. You notice Bettman does not really put any sanctions on me since then because he knows repercussions. And guess what? I got to tell you something. Andrew Ladd, next couple of days, he's going to find a Horsehead in his bed because if he doesn't retire or agree to go on LTIR, I'm coming for him, and he knows it. So, I'm going to get the job done. I'm going to pull some strings. Again, I'm not going to overstate enough. I'm Big Lou. I get away with stuff that other GMs don't. I'm getting older, but I'm still going to keep doing what I'm doing as long as I'm healthy, and thankfully I am. And I'm going to put a winning team back on the ice for these Islander fans. They were great at the Coliseum. I'm looking forward to Belmont next season. We'll probably got to start on the road until they complete it. But, I'm very happy with where our organization is. I love our coaching staff. I love our players. I love our fans. And I'm looking forward to next season already. So I'll take questions now from the media.
Lou, you won the Jim Gregory General Manager
twice,
the second year in a row, yes. But I don't get how that's the case when you put your team in a position in a cap bind. You have a cap crunch coming. You say you're going to put Andrew Ladd a horse head in his bed. I'm guessing that's some sort of analogy at boots. I mean, you're going to threaten his family or something like that. How are you going to get this team out of a cap bind when not only if you do it this year and you just scoot under the cap, then you have to worry about it again next year and possibly again the year after that?
Thank you, John, for the question. I appreciate it. Well, first and foremost, you referenced the bind that our team is in and referenced as me being the one to do it. But I just have to break the news to you. Gar Snow signed Andrew Ladd to that contract. He signed Johnny Boychuk to that contract. He signed Nick Leddy to that contract. So he signed Cal Clutterbuck to the contract that he's on right now. So a lot of these contracts were not on me. Yes, I did sign, Leo Komarov, but, I was coming into a team I didn't really know much about, and I value character a lot. And Uncle Leo, he tells a lot of good jokes in the locker room. That's why people keep him around. But, he only has 1 year left on that deal. So that will be easy for me to move. I could buy him out. Same with Thomas Hickey. I didn't know much about the team going into the free when I came aboard. Calvin DeHaan had left. Didn't really know what Ryan Pollock or Adam Pelech were. Hell, I didn't even know them. So Thomas Hickey was a free agent. I knew he had played a lot of games in the NHL for the Islanders. I didn't want to lose a defenseman, so I signed him. Again, 4 years, a little too much. But again, he's only got 1 year left. I should be able to move him somewhat easily, or, I could buy him out. So, yeah, we do have a lot of cap issues right now. Some of it was not me. But again, I'm Big Lou. I get things done. Andrew Ladd's going to disappear. He's going to be very intimidated from that horse head in his bed. It's going to be all blood in his bed, and he's going to be freaked out, and he's going to be like, oh, well, my general manager means business. I better hang him up and really help him out. Otherwise, I may not be breathing anymore. I'll be sleeping with the fishes. So, I'm not worried about it. He's going to do the right thing by our organization. And, I may lose Casey Zizekas. He's been a good trooper for us. But, I'm going to do everything I can to keep Kyle Palmieri. He's a Long Island boy. He has a house out in Jamesport. He invites me over in the summertime, and we play canasta and have some wine and cheese outside on his deck. And, he's an Islander. He's an Islander, and he wants to be here. So, last part of the question, losing people going forward, I won't let that happen. Barzell, Pollock, they'll be Islanders for life. And, hell, again, I could also just, when time comes, I can just send Semyon Varlamov out to sea, go take him fishing, and then kind of push him off the side of the boat and pretend it was an accident. So, again, I'm Big Lou. I kind of do what I want, and I'll get things done.
I guess you could also say part of the problem was Andrew Ladd got an offer he couldn't refuse.
Yeah.
So, Lou, we know you're going to have to make some difficult decisions in this offseason. Is there anybody you're kind of thinking you might have to say goodbye to?
Well, yes, I stated I may have to say goodbye to Casey Zizekas. He's been that pivot to our fourth line. He's the definition of what it means to be an Islander. But I can't really pull a Gar Snow, my predecessor did, and give him $4 million or $3.5 million like he did to Cal Clutterbuck. But Cal's a tremendous warrior. He's a warrior. I love him. But those type of players, you can't pay that amount of money to. So I probably won't be able to keep him. Last offseason, I traded Devon Taves. Unfortunately, at that point in time, I didn't put the horse head in Boychuk's bed yet. So I wasn't sure if he was definitely going to go on LTIR. So I couldn't take that risk. So I had to move Taves. He's a fine young man. He's a good defenseman. But that was the nature of the beast at the time. But this year is not going to be different. For instance, Anthony Beauvillier, another restricted free agent, he's going to be on our team come the fall. So I'm not really anticipating losing anybody other than Zizekas. And, maybe when I leave Nick Leddy, who really screwed us badly in that playoff game with that play in the shorthanded goal. Hopefully Seattle takes him. But other than that, I think our team is going to be intact. And I saw I got a comment from another news reporter there. If you could just put that up again so I can answer that.
I was going back to it.
Grow facial hair. Yeah, you know what? I was good. I don't know if many people know this, but I had a good friendship with George Steinbrenner. Kind of learned a lot of the stuff the way he ran his teams. He had no facial hair. So, kind of copied him. And I also think it gets a sense of professionalism. Everyone looks the same, cleaned. We don't look like a bunch of slobs on the ice. I know Mika Zibanejad has like long hair down to his ass. he kind of looks like he's in Slayer. I don't know what that's about, but I'm not about that. I'm about clean cut, no high numbers, no individuality. Everyone's a team, and also too, sometimes guys, when they have facial hair, they'll be eating post game. They'll have some wings. Sauce will get in their beard, and then if I'm around, it ends up on my nice white shirt, and then I get very upset about it. So, I'm all about the cleanliness look. I think it portrays that professionalism a hockey team should be.
Hey Lou, before we let you go, I just got to ask: if you did have a beard, who would be the beard you'd want to model it after?
I think I would want to model it after. That's a good question. Probably Santa Claus. He's an older man like me. And us old guys like to stick together. He's very distinguished. And listen, Santa Claus is one of the most liked entities around the world. So, I feel like I'm second to Santa Claus. It goes Santa Claus, then Lou Lamoriello. When kids go to sleep at night, they pray to Lou Lamoriello too. Because, after all, I'm Big Lou, and I'm in the Mafia.
All right, I thought certainly you'd want to model it after your biggest fan, Anthony LaRocco.
He's a good man. He's a good man. Very good man.
All right, thank you very much, Lou.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lou. You suck.
All right. Well, those were the honest press conferences where we say what the athletes or coaches or executives wish they could say. Sort of like it was nice to have Stephen Walcom stop by or Jack Eichel. Check out our other ones where John plays Jack Eichel last week.
So
you aren't really either. Yeah, would you let Nick as a manager DJ your club? Not with the facial hair. No, he wouldn't.
No. It's like this. It's like when Tesla does the cover of Signs.
Yeah.
And the second verse where he says, or he goes, "Take off my hat." Yeah, imagine that, huh? Working for you. Signs everywhere. The signs.
Yeah.
That's what that reminds me of, that country club joke. But yeah, thank you for that one. I love these comments. Keep these comments.
Yeah, keep these comments coming. These are great. Actually, I do kind of like his no facial hair rule during the season. Not in the postseason, obviously. That's because that's tradition. But and saying stuff to people like that, that's what helped change around the Islanders culture. It was you would still have Josh Hosang trying to make this team if Lou didn't get in here or Barry Trotz.
Yeah.
So and even worse, you have a coach trying to fit him in. So yeah, that's not going to work.
Yeah.
But by the way, what do you think about Cole Caulfield taking a shot at my love life? What do you think about Lou just saying, I'm going to put a horse's head in Andrew Ladd's bed, or of course Seth Jones calling Columbus a shithole. So these are all gold. I wasn't even sure about this today because I was like, I don't know if I have the energy, but I do. Wait, we got one more comment. Again, Carp yeah. You know what? We might have to do a Rick Carpiniello one.
I'm taking that one. You know it. And
we might have to do it. It might ruin things when we meet him. So be like, okay, but yeah, that'll be a good one. All right.
I don't know if you want to do the editorials first. Or
we'll do the editorials before. We're gonna do Q&A. We're gonna do our editorials, then we're gonna do some Q&A afterwards. And also, I should probably
talk about. There's some news in the rumor mill. So
yeah. Well, by the way, we have breaking news that Don Granato has been removed of the interim tag. He is now the coach in Buffalo, and they really did play better on them. We had one of the guys come on in the beginning of that segment, the miserable Sabres fan who said, if they trade Eichel, I am done with this franchise. They blew it with Drury. They blew it with Briere and then O'Reilly. And yeah, it's just they could use a president to get in there and just not take any garbage. That's what top down. That's what happens. You get executives, get the right executives. That's what they do.
That's what I've been saying. Though. I've said the problem is that it's the ownership. Like I said, I don't know if it's Terry or if it's Kim running it, but they don't know what they're doing up there. They don't. They have no clue, and that's the problem. And when you like a reference with the Rangers, the lack of leadership at the top caused a trickle-down effect. And that's why you had the Tony DeAngelo situation. That's why you had Quinn not having the guys show up for games, big games on a regular basis for 3 years. And Buffalo could use a big Lou.
They could know. Yeah.
Jack Eichel's bed and saying, "Hey, snap out of it, weakling, or you're gonna end up with cement boots."
Or you want to see? By the way, I always make these things where before we get to the editorials, I always make this hypothesis. If you're a player or or in any sport, you walk in, the coach calls you in the locker room or calls you in the office, says close the door. You've been traded to. What city and organization would make you scream, "No"?
Buffalo
right now. I'd have to say Buffalo right now. I mean, the Cleveland Browns were always one of those because I'd also have to live in Cleveland, with all due offense. But it's right now I wouldn't want to be a Sabre, but hopefully that'll be the case. We have 4 comments that are just shooting in. Edmonton, because you know what? You're gonna win is Buffalo
climate.
Hey, Blue Shirt's in. So
Blue Shirt.
Hey, Blue Shirt. Welcome back from Australia. Zigga's right. It's
Winnipeg.
Detroit
has a future though. You have Lark in there. Isles? No, I wouldn't say that. 10 years ago, I would have said
that's just being a Ranger hater right there.
Yeah, and also
new building, Trotz and Lou. I mean, what?
Also, we get a lot of people that they'll tell you Long Island's a great place to be.
Yeah.
And what's up? From being down under. So
oh god,
I kind of knew that one for a second.
Our friggin' viewers with bad Australian accents.
I thought I totally nailed that Australian accent. Now I'm going back to Manchester. The Devils, just because. Well, you know what? The Devils, because both their fans are going to be the season ticket holders.
You know what? Though?
He's an Aussie Ranger fan. But so, all right. So we're going to do some editorials right now. Who wants to go first?
Doesn't matter.
All right.
John's frozen. He's frozen on my end.
I think Phil gets frozen for a second. He's back.
All the screens are black, so I mean,
New
Jersey has pieces. You have Hughes, they have Mercer, they have Holtz. They're going to have the 4th overall pick this year, which I'll get into that in a second.
All right, pretty good accent. There we go.
That's more Outback.
I think he means the Outback Steakhouse. So.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Is there a Buffalo of
Australia?
Oof.
Probably. There's got to be something. Now suddenly I'm blurry.
Yeah.
Let's fix that. Hello. All right. I'll fix that in a minute. But all right. So we're going to start with Welcome to the Rock.
They just do what they always do.
Why is he putting Leo Komarov on the first line? Like,
welcome to the Rock.
All right. So by the way, before Anthony starts, I stopped my cam, and whenever I stop my cam, I now have an avatar. It's my old headshot. So that was back in the acting days. So there we go. Welcome to the Rock. Here's Anthony.
So now that the Islanders season is over, and thus the book at the Nassau Coliseum is finally closed, I just wanted to kind of talk about some of the best Coliseum moments of my life. Obviously, the 4 Stanley Cups are the best moments for the people who are older. But for me, there were a lot of dark years. But I would say the Sean Bates penalty shot. That's one of the loudest I have ever heard the Coliseum. That was an unforgettable moment. Brian McCabe tripped Bates, and when Bates when the puck went over Joseph and into the net, the uproar was just amazing. My friend that was there, I actually wasn't there, but my friend that was there said like he literally felt like the building like it was shaking. It was that loud, and honestly, it seemed that way on TV too. But that was a moment that I don't think any Islander fan will forget. And honestly, it was the first good moment they had since probably '93, because that 2002 season was their first year back in the playoffs. So that kind of really, at least for the next couple of years, signaled the rebirth of the Islanders. After that, kind of got a little bleak. There really weren't many standout moments. The draft party where they drafted Tavares, that night there was more people in the building for a draft party than there were for actual games over the last previous years. When they announced John Tavares, the place exploded. I think Filk was there with me for that one, but I remember it. Like I threw my hat up in the air, went a couple of rows behind me. I had to go get it afterwards. It was incredible, for an organization that was kind of dying for a savior, if you will, at the time. He was the one to put us back on the right path. So that was another great moment. Game 3, 2015 against the Capitals, Tavares scored 12 seconds into overtime to give the Islanders a 2-1 series lead. They went on to lose that series. I was at that game. That was an incredible moment. Game 6, Cal Clutterbuck's empty net goal was the last goal at that building before it closed for the first time around. That was incredibly loud for that game. And then after that, the first game back in 2018-19 in December when they played Columbus. It was the first regular season game at the Coliseum since that 14-15 season. That was incredibly loud. And again, that was post renovations. And then obviously might be the best of them all, the Anthony Beauvillier Game 6 overtime winner of this past series. Place was insane. People throwing beer cans because they were probably so drunk celebrating. And it was just, that was a really, really great moment. And I'm glad that the Coliseum was able to end on a high note like that. I think we all, well, at least Islander fans, we would all at least like to have a couple more games there in the Stanley Cup Finals. But really, for what ended up happening, you couldn't kind of script a better ending there. So I'm going to miss the barn. Like I said, I grew up there going with my dad with games. It was one of my second homes, essentially. A couple of years my dad had season ticket plans. So I spent a lot of time there in my childhood. So, Goldberg, you with me. Actually, you were with me in 2004 for the Lightning. They lost in 5 and they got shut out that game. But you were with me that game, and we went to many others. So, it's a great building. It was dump, but it was our dump. It was loud. No matter where you sit, the sight lines were great. And it's really one of the last old school buildings in the league. And, now it's going to be gone, but it had a great run. It saw 4 Stanley Cups, which honestly, I don't think we'll see that matched again unless Tampa Bay goes on an unbelievable run here. But in this day and age, that would almost be unheard of. But to the barn, I'm going to miss you. I'm going to hold your memories in my heart. I'm glad I got to bring my daughters there a couple of games. And, now it's time to close a chapter and start a new one at Belmont, which is going to be incredibly exciting. State-of-the-art building. I can't wait to see it. I can't wait to see it in October or early November, whenever it opens. And I'm glad that for the inaugural year there, I'll have season tickets. It should be a lot of fun and hopefully create new memories with my family. But, the Coliseum, I'm going to miss it a lot. You're muted.
I mute my mic during Anthony's so that way he doesn't hear me typing. I think people forget sometimes, even me being a Ranger fan, I kept on talking about how I wanted the Coliseum to be redone and for the Islanders to be there and just a new stadium for you guys. I'm still an Islander, and my first memory of the Coliseum was, of all things, seeing Queensryche, Operation Live Crime there, and that was a solid show. I saw Rangers Islanders, I think about 3 years later was the first time I was at the Coliseum for a game. I was at the Sean Bates penalty shot goal. And I was up in 315 row S, so the last row, because we used to put our backs on there. And As he's walking in, I look down and I just said to my friend Ross, I go, stick side, and bang, that's where he goes. So there are other games, and even as a Ranger fan, they're great games. I mean, the Theo Fleury game where he was, they're all chanting crackhead Theo. Yeah. I mean, I loved when the Ranger fans were chanting for no good, no good. I mean, 2012 was an embarrassing moment for me being a Ranger fan there because I think Sean Avery scored. No, Brad Richards scored the go-ahead goal, and the only thing missing was the Rangers' goal song. We were all screaming, and the only reason why it was embarrassing is because I just wanted that same fire from the Islander fans, and we weren't getting there. And how about this one? Hey, watch this. I was at the American League game. That was insane.
So was Peter.
I'll get into a couple other moments just to bring up real quick. My personal memory from the barn is one before we played our championship game for the Town of Oyster Bay finals. My coach walks in and says, hey, by the way, do you guys know who scored the first goal in Nassau Coliseum? I did. And we warmed up. We played the game. I was actually a scratch and sitting in the penalty box to watch the game. But my friend of mine, Richie Vitsum, with a 1-goal lead in the third period, he's down on his back. Rob DeAngelis, who plays for Applecore, takes a quick shot. He reaches up out of nowhere and just snags the puck. And we'll still talk about that one forever. So yeah, the personal connection to that is still there. And I played games on the Coliseum ice. As a matter of fact, when John Tavares had a goal and 2 assists in his NHL debut, there was a game after that, and I had a goal and 2 assists on that ice. John, your memories of the barn?
Yeah. My old jobs. I've known Anthony for 15 years now, and I would get the texts or the calls during the week, the middle of the day. Want to go to the game? Why the hell not? $15 tickets. Just no bad sightlines for the most part, except for those obstructed view seats.
Yeah.
Those are, but I mean, you could avoid those. And a lot of the times we would go to these games during the week, and they were non-Ranger games, and they wouldn't care if we moved down. Anthony, how far did we move down in some of them?
Pretty far. Yeah, really.
Y'all play Philly. I mean, yeah. I can't count the number of teams we actually watched Islanders play against there. So, I mean, for a period of probably about like 5-6 years, I would say we would just go to games regularly and just get cheap tickets, and it was fun. It was just I'll go anywhere and watch hockey. You want to go take a trip to Ottawa? I'll go take a trip to Ottawa, watch an Ottawa Senators game. I don't care if they're playing Toronto. I don't care if they're playing Islanders, the Jets, whoever. But you know what? I enjoyed it because it was close. It was easy enough to get in and out of, and it was cheap. It was hockey. And you know what? Belmont's not too far away from there. It's an extra maybe, 10-15-minute drive?
Yeah.
Maybe. So, I mean, it's good that they're still close. Barclays was just – I went there once, and I didn't like it. I liked it better for wrestling than I did for hockey. I actually went to 2 different wrestling events, 3 different wrestling events there, and actually had a better time at the wrestling events. So, but yeah, it's kind of like a second home for Ranger fans, really, to tell the truth. And I'm not saying that just in a disparaging way, but like if you're someone like me who's just a genuine hockey fan, you could just go and watch a game. It's so easy to do. Mm-hmm. And you know what? UBS was going to be a nicer arena. The tickets will probably be a little more expensive, just as everything. But you know what? It's still going to be close enough to the point where we can do it. So, good memories there. Obviously not an Islander fan, but I've still had some good times. Doing a little bit of Islander chirps, seeing some fun. Those fans being at a Ranger Islander game once and watching 2 sections over to a Ranger and Islander fan literally roll down the stairs fighting. That was the last Ranger Islander game that you and I went to together. That happened. So probably close to 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I was at NXT Takeover 2 years ago. Takeover Brooklyn at Barclays that Friday before WrestleMania at MetLife. I was there for that. That was one hell of a card, Sean. It really was. You had to be there. So, I'm looking forward to UBS. I'm looking forward to seeing what the arena's like. The Coliseum renovations were nice when they came back, and I went and saw wrestling there too. I was there for WWE Evolution, which was the all-women's pay-per-view 3 years back. That was good. So, looking forward to it.
I gotta go back to this comment real quick, but yeah, where he's saying you guys went to the Barclays and then watch it. Half the fans had to bend their necks.
Yeah,
they're like, what the hell?
I hated that arena.
Ugh.
But I remember going to Islander Ranger games, like the dueling make the playoffs, you can't beat us chance was just just electric atmosphere. It didn't really matter which team was bad at the time and which team was good at the time. That those were awesome. They were awesome. And I'll say this in closing, actually, which is fitting. So the first ever goal scored at the Coliseum was Ed Westfall. He wore number 18. The last goal ever, Anthony Beauvillier also wears number 18. So, I mean,
nice.
That's pretty cool to have it go out like that.
Great. You just gave me a new trivia question to ask Islander fans. So, again, one of my personal favorites still is actually, I had a guy ask me. He's like, last night I gave him who tripped to Sean Bates on the penalty shot, and also he was the youngest captain in Islanders history.
Yeah.
So you got the oversell. Oh, the Kansas City chants. We're at the Coliseum, which, by the way, the Kansas City chants also, obviously, it's "We want fish sticks." That's what was always there.
Keep the wrestling references coming, by the way, because
there's a Bret Hart one for you right there.
Not only was Hogan and Shawn Michaels with the classic Shawn Michaels overselling match against Hulk Hogan at SummerSlam at the Coliseum, but Brock Lesnar became one of the youngest champions in WWE history by beating The Rock at that same SummerSlam card in 2002. So, little wrestling.
That's where you gotta love it. Where it's great about that. So, what are your favorite memories of the old barn, Nassau Coliseum? Is it more of a personal connection like I have, or is it for wrestling, or is it the Islanders? Well, it's the Islanders in Anthony's case. That's the reason why we're doing this. We're a hockey show. Oh, by the way, Brett HBK feud. I don't know. There's been other ones.
Sean, I'm going to tell you right now. Do yourself a favor if you're not a fan of it or you haven't ready, but go sign up for New Japan World and go watch the trilogy between Kenny Omega and Kazuchika Okada, or if you want to go old school, go watch the Ric Flair Ricky Steamboat trilogy from 1980. The two best feuds I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, RSP MSG East. Yeah, and those two. Steamboat Flair trilogy.
Telling you, three of the best wrestling matches ever. Lifelong fan. I'm telling you, the New Japan trilogy between Omega and Okada is probably three of the best matches I've ever watched in my life as well.
Bret versus Austin in WrestleMania 3.
Yeah, that's a good one.
All right. Well, again, put it all in the comments below. Leave a like, share, and subscribe. I keep forgetting to say that lately. Phil, are you ready?
Go right ahead.
Okay.
You're going nowhere. Then there's no.
Hold on, I got to get rid of your thing. It's fitting we're doing the wrestling and we're starting with my Filk and Opinion.
You're going nowhere. Then there's no. I'm looking at you, Jim. I'm going to hear the name and I'm going to get PTSD.
But the cream will rise to the top. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. The cream always does rise to the top. And, we're talking about futures these days. I got to get back to the Rangers here. And I got to talk about the future that we have here because Rick Carpiniello's article about Colin Blackwell being preferred over Kaapo Kakko was just, it just doesn't make sense to me at all. It really doesn't. And this team has such a great future with those pieces like Kaapo Kakko, Alexis Lafreniere. I would say, Filipino could be one of those pieces. Adam Fox now is going to be the future as well. Keandre Miller. We're talking about pieces all over up and down this lineup. But the thing is, this is a pivotal offseason because the Rangers have a big decision to make. And the mandate, obviously, from ownership has been, win sooner than later. And obviously that's what's going to be the goal, is to make the playoffs this season. So do they go and spend those assets for a Jack Eichel, or do they stay the course with what they have and try to expand on that and hope that the pieces in the system end up becoming the sum of the parts and taking the team to that next level? You added the coach, like I said a couple of weeks ago, but you're looking at a team that's at a crossroads right now. They have a big decision to make because you got to think about it from a cap perspective. You're going to probably give Adam Fox, I would say, $7 million. I thought beforehand, like earlier on in the season, I would have said 6 would have been good for him. But if he's a Norris finalist, and if he wins a Norris, you're going to be looking at $7 million. You're probably going to be looking to a deal, and I know I might have referenced this in the past, but Thomas Chabot's deal. That makes a lot of sense for the Rangers. You get him down long term. You give him the money now. You buy out the free agency years. You have him tied up. This way, he's not looking at $10 million in like 3 years. Because if he keeps playing and keeps going up, which the way that I think he's going to go up. Then you're going to have to get Alexis Lafreniere a deal in 2 years after this. Igor Shesterkin is due after the 21-22 season. You're looking at Kaapo Kakko as well after that season. Keandre Miller is going to be due after the 2023 season. There are a lot of RFA deals that will be coming up. So you're going to have to trade assets eventually. And that's why it comes down to the debate. Do you trade the assets for the elite center now? Or do you trade them separately in other deals to kind of keep your system replenished and go with what you have going forward? Yes, Chris Kreider is not going anywhere because he has a no movement clause for another, I believe, 3 years after this one. So cap responsibility is everything. You can't overpay your bottom 6 forwards as the Islanders did. That's why they're in the cap crunch that they did. You could talk about, Lou Lamoriello, Garth Snow giving those contracts out to guys like Leddy, Ladd, Boychuk, so on. But Lou Lamoriello gave Leo Komarov that contract, not Garth Snow. Lou Lamoriello gave Thomas Hickey that contract, not Garth Snow. So you got to avoid doing those types of things. And yeah, the Rangers need that bottom 6 center, that key shutdown defensive guy. They need those Colemans, those Goudreaus, those Cizikas, those Corrales, Calverts, Noshiks. They need those guys to win. Yes, they do. But they also need center depth. And there's the balance. Those are the decisions to be made. Do you move Alexander Georgiev and try to save $1 million and change on a cheaper backup to help? Do you move Filipino and Ryan Strome in a Jack Eichel deal? Do you send one of your wealth of defensive prospects in that deal for Eichel? There's a lot of decisions that are to be made, and there's not a lot of time to make those decisions. And I'm still maintaining the guess, or not really the path that they're going to trade for Jack Eichel. I think it's going to happen. I don't see them not doing it unless Adams just refuses to budge off of Lafreniere and Kakko and Miller. He's not getting Adam Fox. Adam Fox has more trade value right now than Jack Eichel by a landslide. It's not even close right now. But I think that they get the deal done. I think Adams is going to have to bend. And I think Eichel eventually ends up as a Ranger. But this is a big decision to make because when you add that $10 million AAV, then you're gonna have to sacrifice in other areas to make that fit. What happens with Mika Zibanejad at that point? You know, you're gonna tie up potentially close to $30 million between 3 players, and that's over a quarter of the salary cap. So decisions are to be made, but it starts here. I would love Jamie Oleksiak, but I don't know if that's going to be possible. So, but yeah, decisions to be made, players to be moved, players to be acquired. This is the pivotal one. It's going to start now.
I think it's an interesting situation where they are because, and this is actually going to lead into mine in a minute. They're gonna have to like identify what they want this team to be, and I think this is where Gerard Gallant is finally going to get what he wants. Chris Drury is going to want to make this team and be on the same page as Gerard Gallant and make it tougher, make it mentally tougher. And I said this the other day at the bar we were talking, and there's 2 ways to make your team tougher. You can go out and get tough guys, or you can make them just mentally tougher. And they kind of lacked that a little bit. They didn't have it, as Quinn said, between the knees, as they did going into the Carolina series. I would not be opposed to this, by the way.
Trouba's captain?
Trouba's captain. I'd be okay with that. I mean, I'm wearing right now a Ranger jersey of a captain, and he was another one that was traded. So it's a Callahan jersey. I try to get up, but you're right about that. There's so many assets that they have. They need to identify which ones they should keep, which ones they should move on from. And that's why I think that neck injury scares me. I don't think the Rangers necessarily have to go get ankle, but I think they're going to. It's going to be it's a pivotal offseason. 100% right on that. It's very pivotal to what they're going to do and what they're going to be in the future. And we're about to get Anthony back in 1 second, but wait. Neither would I. No, neither would I. And all these idiots talking about point production don't know it. Yeah, I mean, because you don't know what Eichel's going to be soon.
Here's the problem with that. Yeah, point production is not everything, but when you have an $8 million defenseman, you have to put up some points. And yeah, Kreider cannot be captain. I've been saying that he shouldn't be captain for a long, long time. I advocated for Mika Zibanejad for a while, but the last, since the Carolina series, I really haven't seen I liked what I've seen from Mika Zibanejad. So I'm going to say no to him as well. I'd rather try to go with one of the younger guys, with Fox or someone like that, because I don't like what I see from some of these guys. But going back to Trouba, you've got to put up points if you're an $8 million defenseman. And the problem is that he's not going to be able to do that because he's not going to get the power play minutes. And if you're an $8 million defenseman, you've got to be a minutes eater. You've got to be a guy that's going to take 22 to 25 minutes a game. And Jacob Trouba is not going to do that on a second pairing. He's just not going to do that. McDonough was better defensively than Trouba. Way better defensively than Trouba. Better skater. I wouldn't mind seeing Lafreniere. Lindgren was another one that I wouldn't mind seeing as captain. All right. Alva Lanker, yeah, that goes without saying. But you're never going to find another Marc Messier ever again in sports. He's the greatest leader in sports history.
The comments are going in way too fast. Anthony?
I just wanted to jump in because I when John started, my daughter came to the door. She needed help going to the bathroom, so that's why I was gone. But yeah. Well, actually, truthfully, she's gonna be 5. She's number 1, she's fine with, but number 2, she's still a little dicey. But she went by herself, and then she came to the door and said she went, and I was shocked that she did that by herself. So I had to come and just help finish it up. But Yeah, proud of her. But anyway, you know, John, I heard the Rangers have a great future. You know, as an Islander fan, you have to admit it, and it's just facts. So I think them getting more competitive going down the line is going to be great for the Metropolitan Division. But I think, you know, I don't know if you already adjusted on this stuff because I've gone for a little bit. They just need to add some more toughness, like we had said, Corrali, Cizikas, and then maybe get like another older defenseman, just so guys like Zach Jones, Keandre Miller don't have to be relied upon as much. They can have some buffering time to really grow and step into their own. You know, I don't know who that is, whether it be Alexiak, Jarlmusen, just like another veteran defenseman, I think can help the Rangers. It'll be good for their young guys. They got the goaltending in place. Yeah. But no, they're in good shape. I mean, like the Islanders, they have some young guys they're going to have to pay soon. Kakko, Lafreniere, Fox, Shesterkin. But that's what happens when you have a good team. Young guys come in, they establish themselves as NHL players, and then you have to pay them. It's just the nature of the beast. But I think they're good. The only two call-outs I would have to say on the negative side is, I think, John, you said this before, you would agree, I think Kreider and Trouba contracts may eventually hurt them a little bit because they're not making their money's worth right now. That's for sure. But other than that, they're in good shape. And just think of it. If you guys would have traded Kreider when his value was the highest, not only would you have gotten assets back for him, picks, prospects, but you'd have that cap space too. You'd have, what, $6 or $7 million more on top of what you already have.
6.5,
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I get it. I get, and I said at the time that they re-signed him, I get why they re-signed him, and you couldn't have predicted Lafreniere. But I'll tell you right now, Marc said this, I believe, was it last week or I don't remember exactly when you said this, but you could see Chris Kreider being a third line winger sooner than later. And
it might have even been yesterday.
It might have been yesterday. I'm not sure. My memory is a little fuzzy right now, but it's got to happen sooner than later because Chris Kreider is not giving you what Alexis Lafreniere can give you on that first line, playing with someone like Mika Zibanejad. And you saw it last year when they finally demoted Kreider and put Lafreniere there, the points and the goals started coming. It's got to come sooner than later. It really does. So,
and I agree with Sean on this. The Gallant might be the perfect guy for Kreider. And I think Kreider's willing to take a step back and be more of a third line player and try to that might help the third line because he's very good defensively. And
I wouldn't say that.
NHL Network had him as the first line left winger on the all two-way player team. I'm pretty sure that they
don't agree with that at all. I could think of a bunch of wingers that I would put over Kreider.
Okay, but I'm just saying. Haven't heard if there's any rumors about them trading for a goalie, but
No.
I could definitely see them moving on from Georgiev. And
I don't know if I see a goalie because, I mean, even if you traded Georgiev and yes, Shesterkin and Kincaid, I mean, I guess unless they feel that Kincaid's still not an everyday backup, then I guess maybe. But I don't see why they would trade for a goalie if Georgiev and Shesterkin are both here. It doesn't make. I don't see why that would make any sense.
If it's first, get rid of the three goalie system. And you know what? I gotta agree with Ziga. I'd be happier with moving Georgiev, but on the other hand, the thing about
I don't feel about Kincaid as a backup, like a full-time backup. Like in a pinch, okay, but I don't know how I feel about it. Like he played all right at times last year, but
there's going to be 9,000 other names out there for backups. I'm not worried about the backup.
Yeah,
Georgiev, you could have moved last year and gotten a good player.
About that, you know what though, because they don't want to make the same mistake that they made with Cam Talbot. Yeah, and I know Talbot was older and was a year away from unrestricted free agency as opposed from restricted free agency. But if anything, the Corey Schneider experience should show you how you develop a backup into maximizing value. And I'm not saying you're going to get that first-round pick and you're going to get Bo Horvat from him. Vancouver, New Jersey was really desperate to make that trade and ended up losing out on it because how much better would Jersey be with Horvat right now?
God, yeah. And how much better would other – I would love to get Bo Horvat.
At the same time, I have Jack Hughes.
Yeah.
The Rangers have Jack Hughes.
You know what was a goaltending? I feel like over the last couple of years, a lot of teams have moved towards the 1A, 1B rather than like a starter like Brodeur did back in the day. I mean, aside from Vasilevsky, Carey Price, and like Tuukka Rask, if he's healthy, what other teams really deploy one goaltender for 70 games? I feel like a lot of teams have a 1A, 1B. Fleury and Leonard's a perfect example of that. You look to Pittsburgh did it with Jarry and DeSmith, even though I think they're both garbage. It was still a 1A, 1B. I feel like a lot of teams did it. That Samsonov and Vanacek. A lot of teams have that type of, unless you have an elite goalie like Vasilevsky or Carey Price, teams just don't ride a goalie for 70 games again. Like Brodeur used to play like 75 games, So
no.
The Rangers having Shesterkin and Georgiev is a good thing, but I do see the side of trading Georgiev too. So I don't. The point is, if they did trade Georgiev, as good as Shesterkin is going to be, I think for at least this year, they still need to have another pretty capable goalie where they can play more often than a guy like Kincaid. Because Kincaid can't play, 35 games.
I agree with that. What I'm shaking my head at is the comments about Lundqvist. I didn't really like what I saw from him in that last year here. It looked like a guy that was running on fumes because he was playing 65 to 73 games a year. You just can't do that anymore. And Anthony's right. Teams don't run that 70-plus game goaltender into the ground anymore. Who wants to grant fear themselves? And I know.
But I do think you need to at least get them into 60 games because it affects their conditioning when it gets to the playoffs. You're not doing 1A, 1B in the playoffs.
No, I agree with you there. I think a 62-20 or a 61-21 split is really what you want to do. Hank is 39 years old. He's going to be 40 in March. And I don't like the idea of bringing what's going to be a 40-year-old goaltender that missed an entire year and has played very limited hockey in the last 2 years. And he's got a condition. Listen, we love Henrik Lundqvist, but do you really – it's like when Messier came back the second time. Messier played great, but – like for a 40-something-year-old, that first season almost 7 points as a 39, 40-year-old. And then, he was a 40-point player and a 40-point pace the next year. And then the final 2 years, 40 points as like a 42, 43-year-old. And that's great. But do you want to remember Marc Messier for that? Or do you want to remember him for his first stint? Do you want to remember Henrik Lundqvist for being the guy that's on fumes? Or do you want to remember Henrik Lundqvist for being the brick friggin' wall that was the golden standard of goaltending for nearly 10-plus years,
But let me throw this one out because, again, Avalanche is it's got a good point with this. You turn the page from Lundqvist. That was sort of one of those things John Davidson had on his plate, and that's what they did. I don't think you could turn the clock back. But then again, I agree with Chris. You could put him in for 20 games. That's fine, and just have him. But you already took him out of the locker room, and the locker room was different. I also said, by the way, the easiest way to make all the goalies. Oh, hey, Tom, welcome to the show. The one thing you could have done for all the goalies at the beginning of the year was get a cardboard cutout of Henrik Lundqvist and put him on the bench because that's when all these goalies play their best. So, yeah, hit the like and help it out.
Yeah.
And keep these coming, guys. We're gonna do an on the mark, and it's actually going to be continuing with this topic a little bit. It's going to be a quick one. This prediction that's right up here.
Being single most of my life.
Or just yell at Larry Brooks like every other New York Ranger has. And if you're just catching that for the first time, that was from a video that I did not put out where it was Tony D'Angelo supposedly angrily tweeting people. But this one is saying the answers for the Rangers could come within. I got to be honest. I'm still looking over how I would fix the Rangers, and that's going to be a segment for next week or right after the season ends. But none of these free agents are really striking me as that's the guy the Rangers got to go get. That's the guy the Rangers got to go sign. And if they try to go too much and too many assets elsewhere, then you're going to get rid of assets and they're going to screw up their salary. The answers might come from within. We've heard about guys like Carl Henriksen. We've heard about Tomo Reunen. We've seen Tomo Reunen this year. Had an assist in his first game. Nils Lundqvist is coming, hopefully, still. I mean, I've watched his highlights. John and I showed him on one of our live streams, and he reminds me of Sergei Zubov. And I still think Sergei Zubov was the biggest mistake the New York Rangers ever made by trading him. Morgan Barron could be that fourth line center that the Rangers are looking at, maybe a third line if he really reaches. There's players in this system. And again, Julien Gauthier deserves a better shot. Hopefully Seattle do not take him. There are players in this system, and they could end up being the answers that we're looking for instead of go get this free agent, go throw money at this guy. Because I'm not convinced on Casey Zizekas. I still think he's a great product for the Islanders and great with that line that they got. But I'm not shelling out $4 million for Casey Zizekas, or even that $3 million, or the flat cap era. But it's going to be interesting how they identify these assets. And again, all this is the answers could be from within. That would be great. That would be ideal. Then you don't have to pay anybody. But except for obviously go get Jack Eichel. That might ruin this entire editorial that I just said. But it's just the idea of you don't have to just go. You could just still develop guys.
You were talking about fourth line centers and Casey Zizekas, and someone that we saw at the end of the season sticks out for me because I feel like if given a chance, I think that he could be the bottom six center that this team needs going forward. It's Morgan Barron. Morgan Barron's got size. He's got skill. He's got smarts. He's a good skater for his size. I'll get to that in a moment, the Henrik Lundqvist, but I want to stick with Marc's editorial here because he's actually got a really good point. Braden Schneider coming up in the system. Nils Lundqvist. I mean, if you can move Braden Schneider to the left side and have him play left side defense at the NHL, I mean, that's more Russian. Hey, in Soviet Russia, hockey play you. So yeah, I would say, yeah, there are answers in the system. Maybe if Adam Edstrom develops some skating, maybe he could be a bottom six player. Who knows? But I mean, Carl Henriksen, it's another one that hasn't really been talked about a lot. He could be maybe a middle six center. Who knows? Maybe the answers are within. Maybe we don't. All right. So before the 2010 World Junior Championships, Derek Stepan was on the radar as a good but not great prospect. Then that tournament came along. He led the entire tournament in scoring, was over 2 points per game in that tournament, had 15 points in 7 games, was climbing the record ranks for most points in a tournament, trying to catch Doug Weight. And out of nowhere, he became an option. And then the next season, what did he do? Cemented himself as a Ranger for the next 6-7 years. So you never know. Something could happen. You might be onto something here, Marc.
Anthony.
My take on your editorial, Marc, is it's bang on. I do think it's not always best to go out and spend money in free agency or make a big trade. You got to build within. That's how and a lot of times you manage cap early in a player's career, and it's how you have organic growth. But I will say, it comes a point where you need you need to add from the outside, take that next step. And obviously, just because I'm an Islander fan, I use an example. If you look at their team, they really built within. Anders Lee is homegrown. Brock Nelson's homegrown. Barzell and Beauvillier came up with the Islanders. Obviously Cizikas and Martin, they were Islanders. Pellick and Pollock, they were drafted by the Islanders and came up within. But
I think I know who you're about to say, but keep going.
To take the next step, like for instance, do you guys think if they don't make that trade for Pazzo, they make the conference finals last year? I mean, he was dynamite in the playoffs. If they don't trade for Kyle Palmieri, do they make it to the conference finals? He slowed down in the semifinals, but look how much he scored against Pittsburgh and Boston. So the Rangers have Kakko, Lafreniere, Fox. They have a lot of homegrown players. I think this is the offseason where and granted, they're not coming off a long playoff run like the Islanders, but this is the offseason where now you sprinkle in some moves from the outside, and then you look to take the next step. So whether that is a signing of Casey Cizikas for the bottom six, or Sean Corrali, or trading for Jack Eichel, that's where you really add from the outside, and then you go from there and you see what your team is made of and see if they can get the job done, or you need more tinkering. The only problem with the Eichel trade, I think you have to just be a little careful for, is when you make that Eichel trade, you don't want to take away from a lot of those homegrown players that you already have in place. So that's the kind of like the fine line that the Rangers need to walk when they trade for Eichel. But yeah, I think they have enough homegrown talent that maybe now's the year where they tinker with their team in free agency and through trade to take the next step. And for them, that's, getting back into the playoffs.
And that's why I use the term identifying assets, because you need to figure out what you got. And if you know how many, because again, there are certain spots you're going to slot guys in. There's only so many top six forwards. There's only so many, and not many guys, veterans will move down to a bottom six. That's why with Kreider, you're stuck with him. So, and even though I'm the president of the Chris Kreider fan club, but it's he'll move down. It's harder to move him down than it is to say Alexei Lafreniere, you're on the third line with Filipino. I want to address one comment. Blue shirt, we did talk about that earlier. It's going to be on a separate video as well, but also it's at the 30-minute, about the 32-minute mark. But I don't think they trade Kakko. You don't have to worry about that.
No.
If Kakko goes, it's going to be in a deal, and we're going to do some Q&A in about 2 minutes when we close this up. But you don't have but there's only 3 right side defensemen. So if that's Trouba, Fox, and then let's say Nils Lundqvist survives all this, then where's Braden Schneider go? Let's look at the left side. Then you have Lindgren, and again, you're going to need like a 6 or a 7, but that's usually a veteran that you're not really going to use that often. So that's where this gets perplexing. And should have traded Kreider before they signed him. But they didn't know they were going to get the first overall pick. That's the other thing.
Here's the problem I have with that. Like, I wanted them to trade Kreider, and I know Anthony and we talked about the 2019 draft, and there was a big rumor that the Rangers and the Avalanche were talking about pick number 16 in that draft, and I wanted that pick because I wanted Alex Newhook. And I thought Alex Newhook would have been perfect. He would have been a good fit as a second-line center, maybe even a first-line center one day with Mika Zibanejad. You would have gotten that player. It's a different story. And, I do agree with Chris at the bottom there. To a point, they do seem similar players, especially Buchnevich and Kakko now, with Buchnevich turning the corner that he's turned. And I'll give Quinn credit for that because he did work on it. But I get why, like I said, they signed Kreider, but I thought that you have to turn the corner on a guy like that. And a guy that's very inconsistent, you really want to give those types of players $6+ million contracts? No.
Yeah, the streaky guys, it's hard to do that with, but also I think sometimes what happens with bridge deals is you overpay for the next deal.
Sort of, but you could buy out. But the thing is that a lot of those deals when they're not bridge deals, you buy out UFA years and you give them more of an instant gratification now, but you keep their cap hit lower in the future. So this way you don't have to pay more money on the AAV in the future. And you're not going to be able to do that if you keep guys like Buchnevich and Kreider deals. That's why Kreider, they shouldn't have done that with Kreider. Listen, if you wanted to re-sign him, fine. The no movement clause, stupid.
It's stupid. It's so stupid. That's the reason why they don't. I'm wearing a Ryan Callahan jersey right now. That's the reason why he's not on the team.
Yeah,
he wanted no movement clause.
Yeah, and the wrestling fans that are out there, Randy Orton to Kofi Kingston, stupid.
Oh, and
stupid.
before I turn this back to and
Kreider's a no movement, not an NTC. It's an MNC.
It's an MMC. I believe it turns into an a modified no trade.
If they would have gave him an NTC, they wouldn't have had to protect him in the expansion draft. Seattle probably wouldn't have took him because of his salary, but at least they could have saved another spot.
Seattle might have taken him.
By the way, welcome, Frank.
Frank, last season I would have agreed with you, but he's definitely got some muscle now. There's a picture from I say October 2019. And then it's about March of 2020, I believe it is. And Kakko looks like this in the first picture, and he looks like this in the second picture. He filled out.
But just to go back to, I'm going to go back to this comment, and then we're going to go to Q&A after. If we're going to close out this segment, and go to Q&A.
No rumors to go over before we do Q&A. By the way.
Okay, great. We'll do the rumors, then we'll do Q&A. But as far as I'm concerned with this, Kakko and Kravtsov have the bigger upside than Buchnevich. Like, those two can actually be elite players. There's a chance at that. Buchnevich, you know what he is. Buchnevich is just, he's maybe a 20-goal scorer at that. And we've seen it. We've seen it the last few years. I like the guy. I would love it if we could keep him as a Ranger, but we're in a cap era, in a flat cap era. You're going to have to make decisions that aren't going to be the best. So, or financially sound. Move him to another team, and then you'll see what happens. I'll watch him get moved next to Connor McDavid and pop in 50 next year. So, all right. So, again, what do you think? Are the answers to the Rangers within, where we all need to find our answers? Or do they need to go identify their assets and make some big trades? Put your comments down below. Like, share, and subscribe. Filk, you got some rumors that you want to share?
Yeah. I was looking at some rumors online, and Frank Saravalli of TSN,
formerly of TSN,
because he's now leaving, was talking about how the St. Louis Blues are now exploring a trade for Vladimir Tarasenko, which is huge. That's a big-time goal-scoring winger. There's going to be a lot of...
Don't you think his value is at the lowest right now because of his injuries and his shoulder in the last couple of years? I don't think.
Yeah, but you know what though? Yeah, I agree with you there, but he's making only $7.5 million against the cap for a guy that could potentially score anywhere from 30 to 40 goals a year. That's not a lot. It's really not. I mean, think of the other guys that are making $7.5 million. Or in that $7 million range. James Van Riemsdyk. Would you rather have Tarasenko or Van Riemsdyk? You give me Tarasenko day of the week. So James Van Riemsdyk, Vladimir Tarasenko is on the block. St. Louis is looking to get rid of him. I don't know what the expected return is to be for him. I would say maybe a first rounder, a couple of mid-level prospects right now, because like you said, his value is probably not that high. But I would think that a lot of teams will probably be in on him, knowing that his value is probably lower due to his injury concerns. He's 29, so he's not too old. In the perfect range for most teams, but he's a really, really good player. Obvious injury problems, but if anything, I think there's going to be a bidding war for a guy like him, especially that he's a cheaper alternative to some of the other guys that might end up becoming available. Here's the thing. Do you want to pay $7.5 million for Vladimir Tarasenko, Or do you want to get into a bidding war going possibly above $9 million for Gabriel Landeskog? We were talking about the trade market before, how it's going to affect free agency. That could be a precursor to Gabriel Landeskog. That could determine the market for him, because whoever misses out on Tarasenko is probably going to go after Landeskog. That's for sure. And then Taylor Hall, too. Domino effect.
Is there a team, by the way, that is going to go after Landeskog that might be in need of a captain? I mean, I'm just saying, for the Rangers example, that would be somebody that an example is he's a captain, comes over here. Now we have a new captain. You don't have to name anybody else. But
if they didn't have Chris Kreider, I would say, yeah, that would be someone that they could go after. I don't know what Anthony is doing.
Is he jumping in the pool?
If they're willing to move Tarasenko, would O'Reilly become available? Brett, good question, but I really don't think so. I think they're very happy with O'Reilly. He's their captain right now, and I don't see them moving him anytime soon, unless they decide to, hey, we're going to rebuild, we're going to go scorched earth. And I honestly, I can't see that anytime soon. O'Reilly's still somewhat young.
And I think, oh wait, I thought he was working. There he is.
Yeah,
I was giving my
I still think the list of players that were captains that were acquired from elsewhere. Messier was the first one to be traded for that win a Stanley Cup elsewhere. Brendan Moore for Carolina. And then the free agents, I believe, are Scott Niedermayer and Zdeno Chara. So
I don't
can't.
see
Chara wasn't traded for.
No, Chara was free agent.
Yeah, Chara was a free agent. He was traded to Ottawa, but he signed as free agent in Boston.
Well, yeah,
I don't think Colorado's going to let Landeskog go. I think they're going to do whatever it takes to sign him.
And I think they're going to too.
I think they will. I think they will make the moves, but here's the issue: who gets moved?
Kadri.
Now Kadri.
They're probably pissed off with his antics again, and
Public enemy number one.
Yeah.
Did we actually say Nazem Kadri at the same time on that one, Anthony?
Yeah.
You know what's funny? Could that be a target for the Rangers? Could they say, hey, we don't want to go for Jack Eichel. We want to go for a guy that can play in our middle six behind Ryan Strome, allows us to keep good center depth, and gives us a good, nasty two-way center. I don't know.
Good. It's just I worry about his antics.
If he keeps down the dirty hits, then, yeah, Brooks had an article about Kadri a few weeks back. Yeah, I would say maybe about a month or so ago. But if he tones down his antics, like in terms of the hits, then I don't think he would be a problem. It's just that's really the thing. It's not like he's D'Angelo and he's causing rifts in the locker room. Kadri's pissing off the front office because he can't stop getting suspended in key playoff series, like he did in Toronto, obviously Colorado. But Kadri is the type of player they need. Brooks
the type of player, but not necessarily the player. Anthony.
Yeah.
Why would they move Eric Johnson instead to cause cap space? He was out injured. I mean, they did fine without him. Maybe they decide to move on from Eric Johnson. He's getting older. He's got 2 years left on his deal. Maybe you move Eric Johnson.
Who takes Eric Johnson? At that salary, who takes Eric Johnson and that salary net?
Maybe a team that's going to take a chance on him, getting back to somewhat of a form. I don't know, but
and you do realize how long it's been since Eric Johnson has been worth that salary, right?
Yeah, a long time. I know, but I'm sure.
I think the chances of that happening are slim to none, my friend.
Don't you think they would try to do that before Kadri? I guess maybe considering Kadri at least still.
Yeah, and you could go out and get a cheaper depth defensive. I would say that would be a more passable or more feasible way, but Kadri's going to get you more in return, and there's no.
Oh yeah,
But
that part's true.
I just wonder how many teams would actually take on a $6.5 million bottom pairing defenseman. That's a rough sell.
Yeah.
Really.
I mean, maybe one season like Marc Stahl had, but
you're going to have to give up an asset with that.
He's got one more year after this, Modified no trade clause.
One more year after this upcoming year, so 2 years left in general, or just this year left?
No. He's got 21-22, and he's got 22-23. $6 million. That's going to be rough. And
Marc Stahl had 1 year left on his deal. The Rangers had to give up a second-round pick to get rid of him.
By the way, quick question to everybody out there. When you look up players' contracts, do you go to Sport Track or Cap Friendly?
Cap Friendly.
I go to Cap Friendly too.
Yeah.
Sometimes I go to Sport Track.
The other
Padre for 1 year to know
Seth,
a new contract.
I know John mentioned it before, but Seth Jones is the Phillies' the leading candidate for him right now. And the question is, will Seth Jones extend before the trade? That's the thing I guess they're trying to figure out. I don't know if he will or not, but Seth Jones is a good. That's a good haul for Philly. That's an elite defenseman. In my opinion, he's still elite defenseman. But my thing is, Columbus is going to want you have to give up either Farabee, Konechny, or Morgan Frost. You have to give up a good piece for Seth.
Farabee is a no-go for me. If Farabee is going to be an absolute non-starter, I'm telling you that right now. Morgan Frost, okay. Some of their other prospects, yeah. But you're not giving up Joel Farabee for 1 year of Seth Jones. I'm sorry. If Philly does it, great. They're stupid for it.
Well, yeah, they would be. But, I mean, I could see Columbus asking for him, and they're going to pitch it as elite young defensemen are harder to come by than, young forwards who could score.
Good. What leverage do they have?
Who
Columbus.
Columbus.
What leverage do they have? He said he wants out, and he's got 1 year left on his deal. Who's gonna give that up for a guy who wants out as 1 year left?
I think what the leverage is.
Just to play devil's advocate there. I agree with you. I'm just playing devil's advocate. They could also say, okay, well, fine. We won't trade him, and then he'll go to UFA, and you have to compete with everybody else. So if they really want him, then maybe that's the leverage you get him now.
So you're basically telling me that the alternative is just wait, and we don't have to give up anything. Cool.
But
if I'm Philly GM, I'm cool with waiting and not giving up a thing. So you know what? You have fun with that. You have another Artemi Panarin situation on your hands, Yarmo. You deal with that. You have fun. Let me know how it goes when I sign your player in free agency.
But you know what? I think but that's where Yarmo is going to go. Look, we'll let you talk to him. Yeah, I love that. I love that comment, Sean. That's awesome. Yarmo's going to go. We'll let you talk to him, see if you can sign him. And then now you can then have more leverage. That's where you let the guy talk to another guy.
The return is more if it's if he's getting an extension with the deal.
Oh yeah, but they're not doing that though. They're not gonna. When was the last time you saw a sign and trade?
It's been a while.
I mean, I guess the closest thing I could think of is
the Marc Stone deal.
He signed with the Islanders the day after they traded for him.
Actually, kind of both of them.
Stone deal. I mean, but they had the agreement to that, so that they did negotiate with him before the trade was made. So I guess, but that's not really technically a sign and trade.
Yeah,
and
that's true. But
Ziga, the answer to that is that Columbus is sort of like the United States is Winnipeg. They can draft guys, they can develop, they can trade for guys. It's just eventually they're all going to want out.
Yeah,
you gotta feel bad for them a little bit. I mean, they've lost so much talent.
See, I'm lucky. I get to see all these.
I love these AV jokes. Keep them up. They're great. The chewing gum, the good looks.
Columbus went from a team that had a lot of talent, and they all just keep walking out the door. I mean,
something's not right there with that organization. That art Ziga. You got The Athletic, Ziga. Go check out the article that was a few months back. Yeah, Chris, go read the Athletic article, because everything those anonymous players were saying about that organization seems to be coming true, because everybody wants out.
Here's my caveat to that being strict and uptight. So, I mean, look to the Islanders organization. They don't let you have facial hair. They don't let you wear a high jersey number, and people don't flock out of there. So I don't know if it's all about being strict and uptight. I think maybe it's just more about the style of You know what I'm saying? Not so much. Because if that was the case, then why doesn't it happen in other cities? I don't know if I buy it's just because they're strict and uptight. I don't know if I buy that narrative.
I think that's part of it. It's not the only thing, but it's definitely part of it. I mean, the article stated that they take it's my way or the highway with their players in negotiations. And if you're a player and they hold no value in you and they just want you to take a discount, listen, I get it. The idea is to get the players at the cheapest possible AAVs possible so you can manage the cap better. I get it. You know, nobody's going to disagree with that. But if you're a player and you're walking into that and they're not willing to budge with you and it's just take it or leave it, what does that make you think of an organization? It makes you think that you're just a number, chopped liver to them. That's it. And no player's going to want to do that. And that's part of what the article was saying. So it just... the more and more I think about that article, the more that I see these players wanting out, the more I think it's true. So
and that's where Dave's right on this one because Lou could always just shake his finger and have 3 Stanley Cup rings, and Yarmo's got 0. And people don't understand sometimes how hard it is just to win 1 Stanley Cup. Never mind winning 3. And that's where guys like Stan Bowman and Ken Holland. Well, Ken Holland's actually undoing his resume as we speak with Edmonton. A lot of these guys, anytime they can go, look, I got Stanley Cup rings. What do you got? And going back to that again, the Glenn Healy story.
Past achievements plays a big role in that. That's the big difference. Yarmo hasn't earned shit or really won anything, so that plays a role. And while this isn't a rumor, I don't know if you just before ESPN announced their official roster for ESPN, ABC, etc. They it was a graphic. This is their final staff. You got Brian Boucher, analyst; John Butchergrass, play-by-play; Ryan Callahan, analyst; Cassie Campbell Pascal, analyst; Chris Chelios, analyst; Linda Cohn, host of In the Crease; Sean McDonough, play-by-play; Steve Levy, play-by-play; Hillary Knight, analyst; Emily Kaplan, reporter; Leah Hextall, play-by-play; Ray Ferraro, analyst; Rick DiPietro, analyst; Barry Melrose, analyst; Mark Messier, analyst; AJ Molesko, analyst; Kevin Weeks, analyst; Bob Wischusen, wasn't that WFAN? Bob Wischusen.
Yeah,
Bob Wischusen is WFAN, yeah.
Play-by-play, and Greg Wyshynski, reporter. So that's their final roster.
I like most of it. I don't mind Wischusen. I don't. He's not one of those guys where I love him or I hate him. He's good at what he does. I like him. Wyshynski is very much of a lightning rod. He often writes pieces to kind of troll a bit. And no Gary Thorne hurts. That is a serious kick to the gut. Oh man. Yeah. Gary Thorne's my all-time favorite.
Going back to Chris's again, Boucher. I love Doc. I'm gonna go with Doc. We got a video of me and Filk recapping Doc's calls, and a matter of fact, a couple of the Gary Thorne ones are actually. You know what? Do your favorite Gary Thorne. It wasn't even hockey.
No, my favorite Gary Thorne one was.
Really? Thought it was Don Mattingly.
No, that's one of them. That's not my favorite.
Yeah.
Off the
board. The Don Mattingly one is one of my favorites, but my Gary Thorne favorite is, and after 22 years, Raymond Bourque! You just, oh man, between the Devils losing, because the Devils made my childhood hell, they made my teenage years hell, and Raymond Bourque winning the cup, yeah, Gary Thorne's awesome. Fire Wagon Change is a good one. Here's an Alex Goldberg favorite. And it would not go!
Yeah. I keep saying when I have free time, I'm going to make up Mike Emmerich does golf video.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, that would be.
Any names on that roster that surprise any of you guys? I think it's interesting.
You know what?
Leah Hextall and Cassie Pascal.
Yeah.
The two of them, they've been for CBC for a while, and I'm surprised that they got them. So I'm wondering if they're doing dual coverage where they're allowed to work with both networks.
Maybe, I don't know. I know AJ Malesko's on there, so I wonder if she's leaving MSG or if she's doing both. I don't know.
I guarantee she's doing both.
I think her and Anson are both going to be a part of MSG and ESPN, and that's awesome. One name that I'm actually kind of sad about that's not on there because I thought he would have been absolutely perfect for it, and I think you guys would both agree. He actually just recently gave me a follow on Twitter, by the way. Awesome dude. Valcat.
Oh, God, yeah.
He's probably happy with MSG, maybe.
Maybe ESPN didn't offer him. Maybe they didn't offer him enough. I don't know, but I love Steven Valcat. Yeah. I think he's just got such a great perspective on hockey between.
No, he's good. Yeah.
His usage of analytics and not overdoing them, and not discounting the eye test, but he's also got the.
We did our first Q&A that we stayed on for a while. Anthony had to leave early, but we mentioned that we're just like as much as
Jackie Redmond,
Lauren,
as much as Jackie Redmond is amazing. I have a huge crush on LG Red, Lauren Gardner. So yeah, but yeah. By the way, no, Chris, Valacat's still with us. They're just talking about whether or not Valacat is
no.
He's still with MSG of him doing. But again, Valacat breaks it down. He does the analytical numbers and breaks it down in real time.
Yeah, and not only that, but he explains the analytics and how they work. But then he's also got an old enough mentality on the other end, at the other end of it, to stay old school, to keep the old school fans and bridge the gap between new school and old school. And you gotta have that these days. It's awesome. I think he would have been perfect for either one of these two networks to really bring together yesterday's fans and today's fans, because you're going to get a lot of yesterday's fans back on ESPN, and you're going to need those fans to today. And Valacat would have been the guy.
I like the addition of Chelios. That was new, and then also DiPietro. I obviously, Filk, I love DP when he played, and he was great on ESPN radio. He knows. He's a big Jets fan. He's entertaining. Even when he was doing the Islanders intermissions before Malesko took over, I thought he was good. So it's nice to see Ricky D on the ESPN telecasts.
Yeah,
fun.
I think, and he does bring a sort of a reverence that they're going to need, and I love Chelios. I love and look, Ferraro. I mean, yeah, and all the women that they're bringing in are going to be fantastic. So
can we please get a Jules Winifred Part 2 with Chris Chelios? Like, please, for the love of God, just get Samuel L. and do Jules Winifred, because that would bring so many eyes to hockey if you got that. That would be a perfect ESPN bit. Oh my God.
So who does TNT have then? You got Gretzky, Eddie O, Anson Carter.
I think Anson Carter is with them. Yeah.
Yeah,
I love Anson.
I think there was more than that.
I think Anson's phenomenal.
Anson's great at what he does. He really is. I just, you know what? When I first saw him come to MSG Network, I was like, oh, cool, Anson Carter. I haven't seen him in a while. And then he just got better and better and better at it. And you know what? He doesn't try too hard to be hip or cool or funny, but he is. Yeah. And he's good at breaking everything down. He's great.
I'll tell you one guy that everybody should line up to go get is Dominic Moore, who did a pretty good job.
Yeah.
He picked every overtime winner.
I will always have a soft spot for Dominic Moore for his days, for not only his days as a Ranger, what happened to his wife, and then the Bobby Granger commercials. Forget about it.
Forget about it.
Dominic, not forget about it. Forget about it. Forget about it. Yeah, we're gonna be here for a while.
Yeah.
Just some of the other newsworthy things that have come along lately. The NHL announced the outdoor games next year. You got the Winter Classic, got the the Blues versus the Wild at Target Field. And then you have the Predators versus the Lightning at Nissan Stadium, which is the Stadium Series game.
Okay.
The All-Star game in Vegas.
Okay.
And that's about I think that's everything they announced the other day. So those are the 3 events that the NHL made official yesterday.
Well, if you want some Ranger news to shift, actually, you know what? Well, your guys' thoughts on that. I actually have one piece of Ranger news that is technically a rumor mill thing, but it's something kind of foregone.
Well, outdoor games in Minnesota because they lost out, I believe, on the Winter Classic.
Yeah.
So they deserve one.
Yes.
And state of hockey. It's about time they got one in Nashville. So that also is going to help. I would love to see it played on the Titans field. The All-Star game in Vegas could be interesting because I don't know. The reason why we use the word interesting is if it was 5-6 years ago, it's a lot different. But NHL games are always in Vegas now. So, I mean, what more could change with that? But we'll see.
I get that in a sense, but at the same time, the All-Star game is a bigger spectacle than a regular NHL game. It's a weekend. So you have Las Vegas is a tourist spot, a big tourist spot.
Yeah.
So you have that in a weekend, and you draw people there, and you help grow the game further. So it'll help.
And I'm curious what the reasoning was to. I mean, I don't really care. It is, but the reasoning that they picked the Blues as the Wild's opponent in the Winter Classic. I mean, they don't really have much history with each other. It's. I mean, I don't know if there is a better option that really exists. I mean, the Wild don't really have too much history with other teams, but I guess they just picked a random Western Conference team for them to play, a division opponent, I guess. But I guess my concern is the draw. I mean, it's not like having the Rangers and the Blackhawks play in a Winter Clay. It's the Wild and the Blues. So I'm curious to see how that game does ratings wise.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's kind of a weird selection. It's not a small market team, but it's not a big one either. I get Minnesota. You got to have one state of hockey, but I don't know. St. Louis to me is a little bit of a head scratcher.
But you know what? The NHL is starting to expand out when they did the Nashville Dallas game in the Cotton Bowl. And I think you need to start getting some of these non-traditional markets in there. Get Tampa Bay an outdoor game. Show them they can do it. Why not? You could do it. You could do it versus the Panthers at I almost called it Pro Player Stadium. I think it's Sun Life. I don't even know what it is. Whatever the Miami Stadium is.
I think Sun Life.
On it.
I think that's the Sun Life or Sun Trust. I think is Atlantis.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, it's something like that. Sometimes it's hard to keep track of all these things. Who do you guys think should go? We should go after for Gallant's assistance. Roller hockey.
Mike Kelly is the one name that has been popping up a lot because he's been Gallant's assistant in both Florida and Las Vegas. So I think Mike Kelly is going to be one of those guys. I wonder who the other one will be.
Dean Chanel.
Chanel could be a good one.
Yeah.
Chanel with the Islanders for a bit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was most recently with the Hurricanes, but they gave him permission to talk to other teams. So.
Oh, yeah. That's the one that they gave permission to go. That's why I started thinking that Brindamore might be.
Yeah.
Looked like his assistants might be out. But yeah, I don't know. I would say Mike Kelly and then maybe Chanelith. I would have loved for them to keep Jacques Martin. The job that he did with the defense and the penalty killing this year was really good. But I get it. New coach wants his guy. It is what it is.
Does Dan Girardi stay in Buffalo? That would be an interesting one.
That he was looking to come to New York, but I'm not sure if that's going to end up happening or not. I know Larry Brooks wrote about that a few weeks back. So.
And he does have the personal connection to Drury, so right there, that would help.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to go back to Zigga's comment. on that, because I also have to look up to hear who else might be available, and because who knows, you might get a good assistant coach like Mike Sullivan was for the Rangers for years. But people give Gary Bettman shit, but he's done great so far and growing the game. Yeah, in all those markets, he's expanded this game below L.A. and Wayne Gretzky had something to do with it. Anthony,
I agree. No, I agree. I thought Bettman's done a pretty good job, growing the game in that regard at least. I mean, there's some things like marketing of players the league could step up, and hopefully ESPN, TNT can help that. But I thought Bettman's done a good job.
personal connection to Drury, so you let him have the puck with 7.7 seconds. I'm going to double check that in the footage. I'm going to bring it up in a second, but I'm going to say that's really, I think that was not, it wasn't Feder Tootin was on the ice. I think it was Malik and somebody else. You guys go ahead. Take it.
I agree with in the sense that he's helped grow the game in non-traditional markets. Obviously, Gretzky had a big part in that. But here's the issue that I have with Bettman. They don't know how to advertise their players and to get to other areas, like urban areas, and start bringing in more fans of color and non-traditional. That beer can
Is that beer can doing it again?
Yeah,
throw them out. The wind is going. So
yeah, I was about to say that's your arch nemesis right now, beer can. But they don't know how to advertise their players to the fans, and that's the biggest thing. Like the NFL, the NBA, and even Major League Baseball to a lesser extent than the other two. The big thing with the NFL and the NBA is that these guys are household names. They're easily identifiable. You see them on the street, you're going to know who they are. And you're going to know them by face because there's more face time. There's more community time with these guys. And there's just they're a lot more open and accessible. And the NHL needs to do that. And yeah, that's great that he can open up in newer markets, but you gotta market to more fans. And that's where Gary Bettman has really failed the NHL in that regard. But I do agree with the general comment of what Ziga said. But there's just you got to do more to really grow the game.
By the way, Chris, you're right. He did give it up. He swung it around the boards, and that's when he gave up the puck. Yeah, I always just think it's always hip to boo commissioners, except for the one miss who deserves to get booed. Yeah, well, Adam Silver, Adam Silver is just an idiot. And Rob Manfred, you're right behind him.
Rob Manfred worse than Adam Silver, if you ask me. But
yeah, Rob Manfred is literally changing the game. Yeah, I'm right there for that. You know what? Actually, I'm gonna make a question for you guys in 1 second about this because I like the I went to Arkham for that too. Chris, the one I actually look at Girardi and go, "What were you doing?" was the Adam Henrique goal. He just goes around from behind the net, and he's on the right post, leaving Adam Henrique completely alone.
That was a mad scramble. Like everyone was just mass confusion at the net.
Right, but Girardi goes for a skate.
That puck should have been whistled dead. I don't know how a referee could actually even have sight of that puck. There's no way. I've seen quicker whistles on pucks that were actually visible, yet that one didn't get whistled down, which is just mind-baffling to me. It's just absolutely mind-boggling. But, yeah, I don't – you were saying Girardi and that other one. I thought you were going to mention Justin Williams and his inability, Girardi, to stay on his feet in Game 1 of the 2014 Stanley Cup Finals. Because the same thing he did with that one was just like, was it Game 3 or 4 against Ottawa when Kyle Turris scored when Girardi fell in 2007?
5. It's Game 5.
Game 5. Okay, yeah. So it was, but yeah, Girardi has a history of not being able to stay on his feet, and that's been a problem with him over the years.
Still good to great player, and I'm going to say, wait, hold on. Even though the cough up to Williams may be sad, Silver again. So Adam Silver is terrible at handling the players. Rob Manfred's terrible at handling the game. So I made up the banner for this, and I'll start. I'll give you guys. We'll go one each. We'll go around 3 times. So this is a good thing that Chris is making up. What are some of your Arkham moments where you should be committed to the asylum as soon as the play happens? And here's one of them for me. Adam Wainwright's curveball to Carlos Beltran. Oh my God. That was just so nasty. And Met fans forget it. They go, oh, he's the bat on his shoulder, 3-2. No, he didn't. It was 0-2. And that curveball, I still look at the highlight and I still can't swing in it. It's just that bad. Filk?
Not necessarily a play, but a trade. And it was Sergei Zubov and Peter Nedved for Luke Robitaille and Ulf Samuelsson.
Yeah.
Just any Ranger fan, just at the time, you were looking like, oh, Luke Robitaille, awesome. But you gave up Sergei Zubov and the most lethal power play for so long and a really good defenseman because he wasn't big or strong enough to handle the Legion of Doom, and was such a panic move to try to counteract Eric Lindros. And Robitaille just never, ever worked in New York. Just didn't. Just wasn't going to. So,
Anthony?
I mean, obviously I can go with the most recent one, but I'll go 2016, round 2, game 3, Islanders, Tampa Bay. Islanders were up 2-1. Series is tied 1-1. They would have went up 2-1. Fred Flintstone, a.k.a. Jack Capuano, put the trio of Tavares, Oposo, and Franz Nielsen on the ice. Kucherov ties the game with 40 seconds left. Lightning win, go up 2-1, and then they won out the rest of the way to beat the Islanders in 5. But why Franz Nielsen I could see. He for a while there in his prime, he was a guy that, would garner some Selke votes. Never finished in the top 3, but he was well respected around the league as a good two-way center. So him, fine. But why Oposo and Nielsen were on the ice in that situation and not, Cal Clutterbuck or Nikolai Kulemin or Casey Cizikas. I don't understand Fred Flintstone. He was literally the worst. And that decision right there, obviously the Islanders could have won that game and still lost the series, but they would have been up 2-1, and it's a different series. That moment, I lost my mind.
I'm gonna go with the Adam Henry goal. There are other goals that are more devastating. Alec Martinez, I always just kind of shrug and go, it happened in the Stanley Cup Finals. And I can't help but say that was 3 games. The Rangers lost the Stanley Cup by 3 goals. And that still drives me crazy. And I still think, by the way, we had a comment about that. The White King interfering with Henrik Lundqvist, my 36th birthday, by the way. And it's still something I go, how is this even possible? But Cal Clutterbuck is a good hockey name for anyone that's not an Islander. Screw him. But the Adam Henry goal, I wrote an article. It was for of all things hockeyticketsonline.net, and I was doing a postseason blog, and I said how I did the 25th anniversary or the 18th anniversary of the Messier guarantee, and it was on the day of the Messier guarantee, and the same script happened. The Rangers fell behind by 2 goals. They came back. Then it went to overtime, and the captain, of course, by the way, Ryan Callahan, had the game-tying goal. So then I'm thinking, all right, it's going to come out of it, and then before people even could get their drinks for overtime, it was over. And then,
yeah,
I mean, give Doc credit for that one.
There was something else that I wanted to go over in the rumor mill. It was actually Rangers related. Frank Saravalli is actually reporting that the Rangers have actually finalized plans to buy out Tony DeAngelo.
Well, we knew that was going to happen.
But now they're saying that it's going to happen once the buyout window opens up, is what Frank is reporting. It'll leave a cap charge of $383,000 this upcoming season and $883,000 the following year. So it's at 1/3 the price of a normal buyout because of the fact that he's a restricted free agent. So now with Kevin Shattenkirk's and Henrik Lundqvist's buyouts going down, Dan Girardi's entering the final 2 years of his buyout at $1.1 million. The dead cap on the books is a lot more manageable than it was this past season, and the over $10 million that was on the books for it. So,
I have to ask this question because everybody's looking at the beefcake that is Mr. Anthony Larocco. When you dove in the pool, were you wearing the hat?
No, I took it off. I figured a little entertainment value. I figured people catch the little dive there in the corner.
Phil, any other Arkham moments that come to your mind?
I got one more.
Justin,
yeah, go ahead, Ant.
I got two of them, and they're both in the same game for me. The Derek Stepan cough up the pass up the middle at the end of the period, end of the first period in Game 1 against the Kings in the Stanley Cup Finals in 2014. That ended up leading to that fluky Kyle Clifford goal. If it wasn't for that, they lead that period 2-0, and that's a completely different game.
Mm-hmm.
Which also led to Drew Doughty absolutely walking Kevin Klein to tie the game, to bring it to overtime. And then what happened in overtime? Dan Girardi not being able to stand on his feet, and that led to Justin Williams scoring.
Maybe we never get to that point with Dan Girardi.
Yeah.
Anthony.
So, yeah.
I gotta go with what just happened, the Game 7, where Bailey and Palmieri just got crossed up. They both didn't know who was going to stay high in the slot. They both went to the wall, and you guys know what happened. I was like, I couldn't even believe what they were thinking or why they let that happen. But I was so pissed off after that goal because I'm like, you kidding me? A shorthanded goal, like it's bad enough you can't let the Lightning on the power play because they're always a threat to score. Now you have a power play and you're giving up a goal to them. I was just furious. I was absolutely furious.
And Zigga, I'm actually going to mention your comment right here because it's funny. This is the one that gave me the oh no. It was signing Mike Keane and Brian Skrudel was yours. Mine was my friend Russ called me up on the free agent frenzy and said, did you hear the news? Did you hear the news? You guys signed Kasper. What? You guys signed Kasper. The Rangers got Kasperitis, who was his favorite New York Islander, one of my best friends. He's yelling at me because the Rangers signed Kasperitis. I was yelling at him louder because the Rangers signed Kasperitis. Darius Kasperitis has one contribution as a New York Ranger, being injured, and then Dan Girardi got on the roster. And like him or not, he was there 10 years, guys. So that's where you get a defenseman that's there for a while. Oh God.
Yeah, the Sundstrom trade was 1999, which ended up giving them the 4th overall pick because the Rangers and the Lightning. The Rangers took the Lightning's pick that year, and they gave the Lightning their pick next year in 2000. So the Rangers didn't have a first rounder in 2000, but at the 4th overall pick in 99, they took Pavel Brendel, who ended up being, funny enough, offered in 2 different deals. In July of 2001, he was offered in what was reported as a near done deal for Jaromir Jagr. And it was Pavel Brendel, Kim Janssen, and Jan Hlavich, plus a 3rd-round draft pick to Washington for Jaromir Jagr. Then that deal, Craig Patrick pulled off the deal. Craig Patrick years beforehand, unceremoniously fired by the Rangers. So Craig Patrick did not like the Rangers at all. What did he do? Turned around and dealt Jaromir Jagr to Washington for František Kuchera, Michael Civic, Ross Lupashuk, and Chris Beach. And what did that do for Washington? 0. Yeah. That's an interesting name there. A little tidbit of history.
Well, again, Pavel Brandl still tied in goals scored for the New York Rangers with Hugh Jessamine and us. So
I gotta ask you Ranger fans this about your Arkham Asylum moment. What about how'd you guys react when it was the last game of the season, the shootout against Philly, where Ola Jokinen had the season on his stick and that miserable attempt? I mean, I'm sure that probably sent Ranger fans to drink there.
You know what? I actually think that's the clip where Filk says to me, "You're going to mention the name, I'm going to get PTSD."
No, they got Hugh Jessamine.
No, that's not
it. The clip for his intro, I think that was it. Because I started trying to say it, and
no, I'm pretty sure that was Hugh Jessamine that I was talking about. That name gives me PTSD.
Well, because I'll have to double check the clip again.
I'm pretty sure it's Jessamine. If I'm wrong, but I tell you right now, that moment, I got so mad that I threw my remote down on my bed, and it ended up bouncing off the bed and put a nice little dent in the wall behind my bed, and I had to cover the wall up with my pillow for a long time with that, because I didn't want my family seeing what happened with that.
I was so disgusted that I screamed at the TV for about 10 minutes. Then I walked into work because I had to work later, and a friend of mine, Mr. Ole Bjorn Sandorf, who is Norwegian, he goes, "Hey, Mark, how's your day?" I went, "I'm just like you now. I hate the Finns." So it's just now I like the Finnish people because they're a little bit better. Well, because we got Kaapo. So
I just saw a tweet before switching gears. ESPN ESPN2 is they're gonna televise the expansion draft on the 21st, and every team needs to have their lists, their protected lists, in on the 17th. So does that leave us for what, like two more shows, 2 more weeks, and we'll do our mock rosters for Seattle?
Yeah.
Once the lists are made public.
And it's just
Zach Jones' father's bar.
Yeah, that's nice. And by the way, I didn't even mention Zach Jones as one of the guys that's a potential replacement that they can use. They are so loaded.
They are loaded on defense. They really are. Another little rumor piece that I wanted to get before. Frank Saravalli also reporting that the Arizona Coyotes are looking to revisit possible trade talks with the Boston Bruins on Oliver Ekman-Larsson, and questioned also if the package could include Connor Garland, because they're not looking like they're going to re-sign Connor Garland for whatever reason, which doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, I mean he's a good player for them.
OEL is kind of really screwing them if he's still only limiting it to Boston or Vancouver. I don't know if he'll expand his list this time, but he's really screwing them. He is. That sucks for Arizona. It really does.
I get it. They could use a power play replacement for Torrey Krug. I mean, I would rather give McAvoy the minutes and see if their other defenders can develop, because spending another $7 million on a defenseman who, for me, come playoff time, really doesn't move the needle in Ekman-Larsson. It doesn't really fit the bill for them when they have other issues that they need to address, like their top 6. So I don't know if that's really a smart move for them. But Connor Garland, yeah.
I would imagine Jake DeBrusk would go back in that deal.
That's counterproductive because they need top 6 help. And I don't know why you would want to get rid of him when you need help in your top.
When you're talking OEL and Garland, I mean, you got to give up somebody.
Well, no, I get that. I'm not saying OEL and Garland. I'm not saying both players. I'm just saying for one for Ekman Larson. I don't know. He questions whether Garland could be in because he says the Bruins have interest in both. But again, I don't know why I would want to give up DeBrusk in a package for Ekman Larson. If they want to go after Connor Garland and they wanted to give up Jake DeBrusk, okay. I could see that. Maybe a change of scenery deal works. I don't know, but Garland's a good player.
Zach Zone's father and godfather were on the bar. They were lifelong Ranger fans. It's a big deal here where Zach went in the draft and then went to the Rangers. First player from Virginia history from the NHL. Wow. That is actually surprising to me because I figured that maybe Virginia would have some hockey players. Yeah, OEL is kind of an interesting thing because the guy's still got something to offer. It's just $6 billion. So, sorry, not $6 billion. It's more than that. It's like $8 million, isn't it? Yeah, $8 million. And I mean, this then if they're trading him, how close is Arizona just fully tearing it down, moving Darcy Kemper?
Yeah, I mean, Arizona is a team that I feel like they've been perpetually always in a retool or a rebuild. So, I mean, that's tough. That's a tough call. That's a tough call for them. I want to read this excerpt to you guys from Lou Lamoriello. It was his answer when he was asked about Cizikas, and you guys can tell me what you think this sounds like because I know what it does. But I'll read it to you. Give me your thoughts. He said, "There's no question that Casey Cizikas has brought what he has brought to this team. We will do everything we possibly can to try to have him back. Certainly, his set of circumstances is unique and also maybe positive because he's a UFA and we do not have to make any decisions with expansion. We will continue to talk with him. He expressed his desire to come back, but we also know when you get into free agency, it's time for the player to make the decision for him, his family, and his future. We respect that, but we'll do everything we can to retain Casey."
I think there's a general manager that knows that he's probably not going to be able to bring him back, but wants to try to keep the door open, hoping that he'll take a big discount and stay.
That's what I think too.
Yeah, that's what he's hoping on, and that's also being honest. I think he's kind of saying also, Casey, if you got more money in a bigger deal, that's okay. Don't worry about it. Yeah. By the way, everybody, the All Things Rangers podcast swimsuit calendar will be coming out next month. Fortunately, 6 months of Anthony, 4 months of me, and 2 months of John wearing his baseball caps. Just his baseball caps. But it's because that's what you have to consider. The player, this is his life. This is his family. So
I think the only way they keep him is if they do like Martin got 1.5 over 4 years. I think the only way he'll stay is if they gave him like a lot of term, like 6 years in exchange for only taking like $2.5 million, which is like $1 million less than he was making. But that's the only way to give him a comparable amount of money because they can't give him, let's say $4 million over 3 years. They would have to even it out by trying to give him a lot of term but a less dollar amount.
John, what do we say about term?
Term can be the killer. That's the thing. I mean, a cap hit is one thing, but term is sometimes what can really kill teams and deals. And
Oh, wait, hold on. Guys, I'm getting a phone call. Oh, yeah, Andrew Ladd. Yeah, and we know term's a killer. All right. No. Thanks for calling in, though. It's awesome for you to call in because most Islander fans don't curse your name enough. It's okay. All right. Good guy, Andrew Ladd.
I was waiting for the "you suck" from Anthony, but Sean, you really don't want to see me doing my impression of paint me like one of your French girls? Come on, man.
All right, so Cizikas is 30 years old. So I honestly, I mean, I wouldn't mind giving him a 6-year deal. Bring him to 36. My only thing is the style of hockey he plays. I don't know how he'll be like by the 4th year. The thing is, he's not a big lumbering guy. Usually, those are the guys that really start to struggle with their skating. So I don't know if that issue would occur, but overall durability though. But I mean,
Yeah, I think
how
it's
much they
easier
want?
to eat $2 million than it is to eat, say, because we're pointing out Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. To eat $4 million in 1 year, let's say Ryan Nugent-Hopkins goes off the cliff in 3 years. I mean, he's still pretty young. I think he's only 32.
He's 28.
Yeah, but
He's 28.
Oh, you're 28, younger.
Yeah, he's 28. He's the same draft as Stroman Zibanejad. He was first overall in 2011. But the thing with that is that, I mean, even if he goes off the deep end, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, despite the term, is still more movable at $5 million at that point because you know what he can give you. He's 28, so he's got time. But Casey Cizikas, a guy like that, like Anthony said, he's not big, and the style of game he plays. Look at Ryan Callahan. Ryan Callahan played that same style of game, like a cannonball, just running around. He wasn't a big guy, but then again, Marc Recchi was the little ball of hate, and he was 5'10" and 185 pounds, and he threw his weight around, and he played until he was like 42.
Yeah,
and
he played forever.
7 games in the Stanley Cup Finals at 42. So I mean, it just depends. I don't know, but I don't see how they could keep Cizikas if their plan is going to be to re-sign Palmieri. If you said that you were going to let Palmieri go and re-sign Cizikas and go back with Anders Lee and then have Oliver Wahlstrom, that's another thing. Why do you go and bring back Kyle Palmieri when you're going to give a logjam to Oliver Wahlstrom? Like, you want this guy to develop.
Because it gives them more, but now you have scoring on all 3 lines as opposed if you only have Wahlstrom, then you don't have Palmieri on the 3rd line.
No, I get that, but Palmieri is more of a luxury than he is a need.
Yeah.
Wahlstrom could give you maybe 20 goals next year if you give him the right ice time and you give him the power play time. Why are you going to go and try? Because it's all about cost. It's all about cost control and production, relative to your contract. So, like Adam Fox and the Rangers, like they thought that Adam Fox could give them 30 or more points on an entry-level deal as opposed to Kevin Shattenkirk at 6.6 million. It was 6.68 or something like that. So they decided to buy out Kevin Shattenkirk and trade it for Adam Fox. Why would you not do the same thing? Get the production out of Oliver Wahlstrom, keep your 4th line center, not downgrade, and then add in other areas.
I think actually Chris just brought up a great point. I'm going to bring that back up, and that's this is what I talk about with Pavel Buchnevich all the time. It's if you can't just have everybody on your team. It's not feasible for everybody to make like $3 million and you have all your star players. In this case, you might have to say goodbye to Palmieri, but you have Wahlstrom, you have Bellows, you have guys that weren't making that much, and now you can keep Cizikas. Stuff like that's a question you have to answer.
I think the problem is Trotz. I don't think Trotz would trust Wahlstrom and Bellows, 2 young players on a line together. He's all about defensive responsibility, and I just don't.
He doesn't have to put them on the same line. He doesn't have to put them on the same line.
You can put them on 2 different lines.
Honestly, problem is he probably doesn't want to break up Lee, Barzell, Eberle, or Beauvillier, Nelson, and Bailey. So that's why the easy thing is to put Wahlstrom and Bellows with Pajot.
I mean, you're going to have to do something. There's a logjam there. If the idea is to bring back Palmieri, you're stunting Wahlstrom. That's what you're basically doing. You're stunting Wahlstrom. You're stunting Bellows. I mean, maybe Bailey's gone in the expansion draft. Maybe Seattle takes.
That's a good question. Maybe they don't get to take Nick Leddy.
Yeah.
They're like, no, we want Josh Bailey.
I would rather take Bailey if you ask me.
Yeah,
I don't think he's bad
they're
piece.
gonna go the 7-3-1 route, and I think they're gonna protect. I think they're gonna protect both Bailey and Eberle, and hope that Seattle's forced into taking Nick Leddy.
So they're gonna leave Brock Nelson unprotected?
No, Nelson's included in that 7.
I don't think they're taking Leddy. I can tell you that right now, because there's going to be other defenders that are going to be available that'll give you close to what he can give you. Maybe not exactly what he can give you, but in that same realm for a lot cheaper. And
but if the Islanders protect those guys and they don't take Leddy, who are they going to take? They're not going to take Martin. They're probably not going to take Clutterbuck. I mean, you could take Otto Koivula. I mean, they could take a young guy like that, but I would think they'd rather have Nick Leddy than.
I wouldn't take Nick Leddy. I wouldn't take a 30-year-old defenseman that's regressed for the last few years. Not really a good choice. Especially one because you're not going to take Varlamov. I can tell you that right now.
Well, he's probably going to be protected, I think. So I don't think that's even an issue.
I wouldn't even. I don't know if I would protect him.
But they're going to have to protect one goalie. So.
Yeah, Sorokin's exempt, so that means they'd have to protect Ken Appleby as their goalie if they didn't want to protect Varlamov. But
or of course, is Corey Steiner still on the team, or they have to re-sign him to protect him?
He was only a 1-year deal, so
yeah, then he's going to be exempt.
Yeah, he's unrestricted, so he's not there.
All right. I guess you know what? We're at 3 hours and 30 minutes.
Yeah.
We were going to do. What I love about when we do like 30 minutes of Q&A, it always ends up being 90. So
well, I'm looking forward to when they put the all the expansion lists become available, because then we can like make our picks, and that should be interesting to do. So
because then we're going to all make our own Seattle team.
Yeah,
That's what I'm going to look forward
Yeah.
to. Instead of doing these individual videos people are doing, they're going to take this guy or this guy or this guy. We're going to make our Seattle team. So we're going to do that. So by the way, stay tuned for that. And you know what? Like I say, you guys are great. This is the reason why we're doing this. And this is the reason why Anthony is about to jump in the pool again. So
you want us to do a cannonball before you?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Do we have any more questions coming in?
We actually have no more questions. Although, Chris, thank you very much also for sticking with us. And Ziga.
Yeah.
Is it Ziga or Ziga? Anthony's daughter in the background. She's just like, what's going on?
She looks back towards the camera. Funny.
Oh.
From. Hi, Ella.
All right, it's just Ziga. Got it. Yeah. Playoff Jay-Z Ziga. All right. I like it. All right. So yeah, because when I'm pronouncing names, I'd like to get it right.
Yeah.
It's bad enough I couldn't say Kakiyemi yesterday.
Do this right now.
Niemi. Kakiyemi.
You have a hard enough time with Laviolette.
Peter Laviolette.
Not Laviolette.
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 Laviolette. Yeah, well, Ziga Man is always a great nickname. And
nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Actually, I had an ex-girlfriend whose last name was ZU, and whenever they organized classes, she just went right to the back. So, lovely let.
Yeah,
guys, we're expanding as a channel. We're blowing up, and we're doing this because of you guys. This is the reason why we keep doing this every single week.
Absolutely.
And this is why we keep on trying to do. We want to do, and this is why I end up doing editing for 8 hours, or sorry, not 8 hours. Well, 8 to 12 hours a week to shorten up these videos. So we'll be doing some of these later. Probably the postmortem on the Islanders will be coming up, and then.
Oh,
Yeah. That's so terrible, but that is something I would say. There are some jokes there. In all honesty, my humor ranges from terrible dad jokes to oh my god, you should be canceled from the internet and for whatever. I would be destroyed and honored by cancel culture. I have no idea. And yes, and Z-Man, that's why it's like, thank you. We are growing. We're doing our best to also improve the show at all times. I mean, the bar talk we love to do. The honest press conferences we really love to do. So
Q&A is my favorite when we get a bunch of questions.
Yeah, well, I've been loving the Q&A too.
I love doing the Q&A. That to me, my thing is I love interacting with people. it just Anthony and I did Off the Post 3 years ago. The cancel culture and the PC garbage is just
it's somebody's going to be offended elsewhere.
Yeah,
that's just the way it's going to be. But you were saying you and Anthony did Off the Post?
Yeah, me and Anthony were doing Off the Post because we had a dream that one day that we could become analysts and have our own thing and really talk, widespread talk hockey with people across the world, across the nation. We wanted to make it a thing. We wanted to be there. And you know what? We do this because we love doing it. You contacted me about doing that video, and then just this whole thing. We wanted to make it so that we could turn this different beauty. That's why the Honest Press Conferences idea came up. That's why the Bar Talk idea came up. That's why we keep doing these different segments, because we don't want to be just the same damn boring, bland. Oh, we just talk hockey. We just talk different topics and just go yada, 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 back and forth. We want to get people involved. We want your ideas and your opinions. If you have suggestions for the show, guys, like if you think of a segment that you think would be cool or funny or new or interesting, let us know. I mean, we're open to trying ideas out. We're open for feedback, for anything, honest criticism. I mean, if I ramble on too much, tell me to shut the fuck up.
I do want to get a timer that's on there for us.
If you guys, if you Ranger fans out there, or really anybody, but if you guys want to see see a guest on our show, reach out to Marc. Me and Filk had our show. I still have the contact info for Dave Maloney, and we had a lot of play-by-play guys on, but Dave Maloney, Steve Alaquette. I mean, he wasn't on our show, but I can get him. Dave Pagnotta. I know he's not an Ranger guy, but there's a lot of throw it out there, and I'll see what we could do. And Marc wants to have one of those guys join on one day, and I think that would be that would be great too. So that's definitely possible as well.
Yeah, I mean,
by the way, youngest captain of Rangers history.
Yes,
Dave Maloney.
Yep.
I remember the show where I got Dennis Potvin on the show, and I got him to troll Filk there. I threw him under. Well, I threw Filk under the bus. I said he's
got thrown under the bus. I got trolled by Dennis.
I think he might have participated in saying Potvin sucks a couple of times. He laughed it off. He was really cool about it.
Thank you both, guys. Thank you both.
Okay. And again, thanks, guys. Yeah. That's why we got to keep on liking it, sharing it, and getting more people to subscribe. Yeah. Because again,
spread the word. Let everybody know. I mean, we've got to do a better job ourselves of definitely promoting ourselves. But word of mouth is how everything goes around. I mean, and then obviously the internet and everything like that. But I mean, on Anthony and I's show, we definitely want to get some big time names in the future. But Dave Maloney, David Pagnotta, Brian Compton, Stan Fischler was one of our guests.
We had Craig Button on. We had Craig Button on a show.
Craig Button was on. Yep. Joe Beninati and
Jamie McLennan,
Craig Laughlin.
Yep.
I actually interviewed Alan May, Sam Cosentino, and John Shannon in person at the NHL draft in Dallas in 2018.
That was cool.
That's amazing.
So and it's funny because Alan May, when I was talking to Alan May, this was when John Carlson was set to be a free agent, and it was Saturday. It was the second day of the draft. And Alan, Pagnotta is the man for the fourth period. He was the one that started it up.
John, because I send him screenshots, and I actually talked to Pagnotta on a semi-daily basis. We just chat about hockey, so I guarantee you I could easily get him on here.
Yeah, David would definitely come on. David knows Anthony. He's got a relationship with Anthony. That could be a big catch for us. So yeah,
I mean, I had an interview with Kenny Albert that's still, I believe, on Apple, back with I think it was, we were in the neutral zone at the time. I think it was just all things blue shirts, but that was a great interview. He was phenomenal.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's, I would love to have guests on the show. There's a lot of guests I actually really want to get on the show.
Who was a great guy we interviewed, Phil? Randy Moeller. Randy Moeller was on our show. He was
I love Randy
great.
Moeller. I go to work like a doctor. His calls are just the stuff of legend. Oh my God.
Like I said, even though we're going to be renaming the show, it's going to be and likely the channel. It's going to be we're going to be getting bigger. We're going to be getting better. A year or two, I can't help but look forward to. So thank you very much, guys. Again, we're going to need to get Anthony back to the pool, and Filk and I are going to run along. So this is why we do this. This is why we just spent 3.5 hours. So actually 3:40 we're at clocking in right now. So yay. This is actually the second longest show we've had. We had one that was 3:50. So again, guys, great having you, and look for more segments from this coming up soon. And anybody else want to sign off?
Yeah. Thank you again for tuning in. Like, share, subscribe. Definitely, tell everybody else about us. Like I said, we got to do a better job of promoting ourselves, but word of mouth is how everything gets out. And definitely keep coming back because we love the discourse. We love the discussion. It's great. We love doing this for 4 hours for a reason. You guys are that reason. So
yeah,
keep on coming back for more. We'll give you more.
All right.
Keep watching, keep liking, keep your suggestions, asking questions, and we appreciate you guys who are along the ride with us.
Let's go Rangers.
Let's go Rangers. Let's go Islanders, and let's just keep going. All right, Sean. Again, thank you. All right, take it easy, boys.
Take care, everybody.
Take care.